2006 season has been mostly sunny with bright sunshine for the first-place New York Mets. And so it is in the final game before the All-Star break. A gorgeous day at Shea Stadium in New York as the New York Mets take on the Florida Marlins, also available in high definition. And a pleasant good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Shea Stadium. Gary Cohen and Keith Hernandez with you today. Final game before the break, and a memorable day for the Mets yesterday. Not only that they scored the most runs they've ever had in a game here at Shea, 17, but that they did it for a first-time starter in Mike Pelfrey, who everybody wanted to see get his first big league win, and he did.
Well, they certainly took the pressure off of Mike Pelfrey. They scored the 17 runs, staked him out to a 9-2 lead early. He was nervous. He admitted to being nervous. Who wouldn't be nervous on your debut in Major League Baseball? Something you always strive for. And, you know, he was a little bit all over the place yesterday. He walked 4 guys in 5 innings, and that's something he normally doesn't do.
And he had his tongue wagging during the game, and he talked to the media after the game.
I was a little nervous at first, and I kind of felt, too good. And, I was a little erratic at first, and in the 4th and 5th innings, it kind of calmed my nerves, and kind of just started pitching, and just kind of trusting my stuff, and just try to throw strikes. It kind of felt like you were right there in a magnifying glass, and everything was just kind of larger than life almost. But it was an awesome experience, and I'm glad I got it out of the way. It's been my dream, pitching the big leagues, and I got to do that today, and I got my first Major League win, and hopefully it's the first of many.
Mike Pelfrey, big old country boy from Kansas, comes to the big city and makes good. How many more starts he'll get right now, we don't know. But with the Mets' most inexperienced starter having gone yesterday, they go to their most experienced arm for the final game before the All-Star break.
Well, that's Tom Glavin, of course, 11-2, having a terrific first half. He is on a 9-game winning streak right now. His last 2 starts were no decisions, a little bit shaky. But the most important stat, I feel, is his 18 starts as a Met this year. The team has gone 15-3. That's awesome.
And pitching against a Florida team that struggled against left-handers so far this year. The Marlins will throw a young lefty, Scott Olson. The Mets saw him during spring training, but not yet during the regular season.
Well, they're a team that's 11 games under 500, excuse me, and he's got a winning record, so that says something about him right there. He's doing something right. Opponents are only hitting .228 against him. Lefties under 200. He pitched, as you said, in spring training against the Mets. I'm looking forward to watching him pitch today.
Well, the Mets have certainly done plenty right in the first half of the 2006 season. We'll get the A's, B's, and C's from Keith Hernandez. He'll give you his first half report card when we come back to Shea Stadium in just a moment. Shea Stadium starting to fill up on a beautiful Sunday afternoon. Final game before the All-Star break. Mets have an unprecedented 4 days off for the All-Star break this year. They've never had that before. I bet you wish you were playing these days with that.
4 days would have been too much, but go on.
Well, the Mets are approaching the All-Star break in first place for the 4th time in their history. It's been a great first half, no question about that. But let's break it down a little bit with Keith's first half report card. The pitching coming out of spring training, the Mets felt as though they had replenished their bullpen, but they had questions about Pedro Martinez's health. The pitching in the first half.
Well, the ERA is number 2 in the National League. You got to love that. The bullpen has been outstanding. What more can you say? It's been solid up and down the line, and they've been terrific and done the job. The starting pitching is the one question mark on this club, the depth of it. The Mets have tried to fumble around looking for that 4 and 5 starter. They seem to have solidified it with El Duque. But that remains to be seen. There's question marks about Martinez's health. They need him healthy.
And we'll see whether it's Mike Pelfrey or John Maine who gets that next spot in the rotation. Meanwhile, the offense at times has been just a sight to behold.
Well, the offense has been terrific, and it's a well-balanced lineup with speed at the top. Jose Reyes, as you see Delgado there, he's back in the lineup today. With Reyes at the top and LaDuca hitting so well in that second spot, it gives you speed at the top, a hit and run guy in the second hole, and then you got your 3, 4, 5, 6 hitters have been terrific. Nady's been fantastic when he's healthy. The offense, I don't think, is a problem. And the bench has been wonderful.
Been a big contributor to that offense, and as well defensively. This is a team that is it's got some people who are relatively new to certain positions, but they've also got some great talent in that infield and outfield.
Well, the defense has been fine. There's no problem with the defense. Jose Reyes has been a rock at shortstop. He has been the steadying factor with his smooth play at short. You've got Valentine, who has played the one position he's played the least is second base, and he's been terrific at second base as well as his offense. So the defense is not a problem for this ball club, and that adds up to being in first place at the All-Star break.
And Jose Valentine looking to follow up on his 7 RBI game yesterday. Mets will be at least 11 games in front at the All-Star break as they start their push toward October. They'll finish off this first half of the season playing the Marlins. First pitch coming up in a moment. New York Mets baseball on SNY is brought to you by ChevyOffers.com, the presenting sponsor of Baseball Night in New York. By Rico, move your ideas forward with Rico dependability. By Honda, see your Honda dealer and discover the great values now being offered. And by Geico, 15 minutes could save you 15% on car insurance. Visit geico.com or call 1-800-947-AUTO. Tom Glavin trying to become the major's first 12-game winner. Hanley Ramirez leads off and takes ball 1. Glavin bidding for his 10th straight win this afternoon, coming off no decisions in his last 2 starts. And Ramirez swings over the changeup, 1-1.
Well, Glavin would love to get that 12th win as you look at his numbers for the season. Love to go into that All-Star break to start the second half with 8 wins from 20. I'm sure he'd love to win 20.
And Ramirez takes it wide. Now, although Glavin's winning streak has remained intact, over his last 6 starts, he hasn't pitched as well as he had earlier. His ERA over those last half dozen starts is 5.51. But he's been taken off the hook a couple of times, and so he has continued that winning streak. But you know what? Considering how the first 3 years of his Mets career went, he was owed that. He pitched so many great games where he got nothing to show for it.
And early in the season, he had some no decisions where they didn't score runs for him. So it all evens out. But the guys that are good, it doesn't even out. It's always when you're a hitter, you hit more line drives at people than you do bloopers. And then when you're a good pitcher, you lose more games where you pitch well and they don't score for you than you pitch poorly and they score a lot of runs for you.
3-2 to Ramirez, and he walks the leadoff hitter. So Glavin, who's been averaging a little over 2.5 walks per 9 innings, passes the first man to face him. Here's the Rico Marlins lineup today. Miguel Cabrera, 3rd in the National League in batting. Josh Willingham moves into the cleanup spot today as Joe Girardi moves a couple of people around. And here's Dan Uggla, the Marlins rookie all-star second baseman. 2 for 10 in this series, and he takes ball 1.
Well, he has been one of 2 most consistent players for the Marlins, and the other one, of course, is the third baseman Miguel Cabrera, who I feel is one of the finest hitters in baseball. And there's Mike Pelfrey. He gets to relax today.
Hasn't been a whole lot of that for him the last few days. Found out earlier in the week that he was going to be called up. Spent Friday night watching the game from his hotel room nearby. Came to the clubhouse just before game 1 yesterday, and can only imagine what those nerves were like as he watched the first game of the doubleheader, and then finally made his debut in game 2. Ramirez runs. LaDuca with the throw on target. Perfect throw by LaDuca. Guns down Ramirez for the first out of the game.
A terrific throw by LaDuca comes up, wastes no time, and he is out. And nice tag put on by Valentine. The throw is right on the bag. Perfect.
Couldn't ask for much more than that against Ramirez, who's caught for only the 5th time in 30 tries. And Uggla takes a strike, 2-1.
Well, you got to believe that nothing would please Joe Girardi and his Marlins than to come here before the All-Star break and take 3 out of 4 from the division leaders.
Popped up. Valentine retreating. Nady in, calls him off, and that's the second out. So 2 out and nobody on.
This was a team that got off, Gary, to that miserable start. And boy, have they turned it around. Have a better record than the Mets after that was 11-31 start they had. Since that point, they've had a better record than the Mets.
27-16 since the 21st of May, the best record in the National League over that span. And that's all credit to Girardi. They've got some young talent on this team, but young talent doesn't necessarily come together this quickly. as Cabrera takes ball one, and the crowd getting on Cabrera again today. Remember, he got hit by a pitch by Duaner Sanchez in the first game yesterday. Took exception. Bench is cleared briefly.
Well, he is such a fine young hitter, and the reason why he goes the other way so naturally, he's still early 20s. He's gonna, how good is he gonna get?
It's amazing how much very young talent there is around the big leagues right now. Just all you have to look is at the two third basemen in this game. Both 23 years old, both all-stars, and both up among the elite players in the majors.
You took the words right out of my mouth.
On the inside corner, strike three call. Glavin got him with a changeup and works through the first inning after the leadoff walk. Cabrera down looking, and the Mets come to bat. 22-year-old Scott Olson on the mound for the Marlins. Another rookie going to the mound for Florida against the Chevy Mets lineup. Carlos Delgado back in the lineup today after getting hit on the hand yesterday. Carlos Beltran, home run yesterday, his 25th of the year. Chris Woodward again in at shortstop with Jose Reyes out.
And there he is, Scott Olson. You see his record right there. 6'4", 198 pounds. Kalamazoo, Michigan. How about that?
And he really appears to have turned a corner the last month and a half. He was really struggling in late May. Pitched in the game against the Cubs, and Joe Girardi in the middle of that game grabbed him in the dugout by the shirt, pulled him down the tunnel, gave him a tongue lashing, and since then Olson's 4-1, 2.11 in his next 7 starts.
And I bet you I know what he gave him the tongue lashing for, and that's probably not throwing his fastball and throwing breaking stuff and off-speed stuff. And that's the kind of guy Girardi is. He is old school. He is a blue-collar manager. That's the way he played. He's one of those guys that didn't have the greatest amount of ability. He was a backup catcher. I remember him in his Cub days, playing against Joe. Always a hard-nosed player.
2-1 to Valentin, lifted to right center field. A long run for Cody Ross, and he runs it down. So Valentin, who got off to the scintillating start in Game 2 yesterday with a grand slam and a 3-run triple in his first 2 at-bats, hits this first one well, but it's caught.
Well, the Ford Marlin defense, Gary sets up with Jacobs, of course, the former Met at first, Ugla, the all-star second baseman, Ramirez at short, Cabrera, the all-star third baseman, Willingham, Abercrombie gets a start in center, and Cody Ross in right gets another start, and Matt Trainer behind the plate.
Here's Paul LaDuca. Paul's 3 for 6 in this series, and with a good day today, he could push his batting average to 300 at the All-Star break before he heads off to Pittsburgh and the All-Star game. That's at 6 players picked for the game, and Pedro Martinez is not going to go because he's hurt. Jose Reyes will go, but there's a question whether he'll play. Tom Glavin will not pitch because he's pitching today, but LaDuca will be in there, Beltran will be in there, and Wright will be in there, all in the starting lineup for the National League.
And you see Beltran, you saw earlier in the lineups that 6 home runs, 13 RBIs. You wouldn't know it. It's been so, in the last 6 games, he's been so quiet. You thought that he would have been in a slump. That was kind of stunning for me to see those numbers.
Well, he hit a couple of home runs in that game at Yankee Stadium where they were way behind, and he hit one yesterday when they were way ahead, but nonetheless.
He still hit them.
Yeah, it's exactly right. 25 home runs before the break is pretty impressive, especially for a guy who hit only 16 all of last year.
Olson is currently won his last 4 out of 5. Last outing was a no decision at Washington.
And LaDuca lines a base hit to center field. Well, Paul LaDuca had a couple of games off Friday night, first game yesterday, and he's come back strong. He's been hitting the ball solidly.
The center fielder.
See Carlos Beltran using the handle of his bat there, and he carves a big J in the batter's box, and that's in tribute to his wife Jessica. Does that virtually every time up.
That's fine and dandy. I found what's more interesting is that he sets the bat down with the end of the barrel on the outside corner, and the length of his bat is where he positions his, how far off the plate he is.
You may feel that's more interesting, but I'll bet Jessica feels differently.
I'm only concerned about Carlos Beltran.
Carlos sitting at 279. 25 homers, 67 RBIs. What a first half he's had.
Boy, now you can see right here. Look at that. He puts that right there. Now at the end of that bat, that's where he makes a mark. He makes the J, of course, second. And that's where he stands in the box as far as his distance away from the plate. Very interesting.
Foul ball. 1-2 to Beltran.
You would think, now he's a switch hitter, so he's got two sides of the plate to think about. You know, I always had a visual of how far I stood away from the plate. But then again, I wasn't a switch hitter. I only had to worry about one side of the plate.
And Beltran has struggled as a right-hand batter for the most part this year. He's hitting under 240 from the right side, but his home run yesterday came as a right-hand batter. Generally, he's been pretty balanced through his career.
Well, he also played now in Houston with that short left field porch, excuse me, ridiculously short. He has more power from the left side of the plate. He's a better hitter left-handed than he is right-handed. And this is not to slight his right-handed hitting. He's a very potent right-hand hitter, but he's a much better left-hand hitter.
And he strikes out on the slider, and Scott Olson's got himself one nasty slider. That's his first strikeout.
Well, you're right here, and it starts in the strike zone and breaks down. Expanding the strike zone. Big, tall pitcher, straight up and down.
You know, remains to be seen how consistent he can be, Keith, but that's a Carlton-esque type slider.
It breaks down, that's for sure.
Here's Delgado digging a hole with that left foot.
And he's deep in the box where, now watch, his front foot will be he's pretty spread out. Yep, right at the corner of where the angle in the plate is, and that's where I had my front foot.
And he goes the other way down the left field line, but it'll slice and go foul. Delgado went out and took some swings before the game today before pronouncing himself fit to go. When I saw him this morning, he was wearing a bandage on the back of his hand where he got hit. It's his left hand. And he got hit right on the knuckle yesterday, right between the middle finger and the index finger knuckles. He had a little swelling, a little bit of pain, but he felt he was going to be good to go, and sure enough, here he is.
Well, Carlos, of course, had that terrifically hot start. Good pitch, good fastball away, knee-high outside corner, and slumped after he had a solid first 5 weeks of the season. I mean, more than solid. He was the anchor of this lineup, doing everything, and he really hasn't caught fire since then. He's been kind of treading water.
Just 7 for his last 48. And hitting under 200 at Shea Stadium this year. And you wonder about those home run splits sometimes, and whether they're just coincidence, especially over just a half a season.
Well, you certainly have to take into consideration in this ballpark, one of the oldest ballparks. Now, believe it or not, one of the oldest parks in the league in baseball. It is a vast ballpark, as you can see, the 396 signs out there in the gaps.
Fastball misses 1-2.
And that's those left center signs and right center signs. But in the gap, it's 371, which is like Wrigley Field. Wrigley Field, of course, is 368. It just seems longer here, doesn't it?
It does, and Delgado goes the other way, hit it well toward the left field corner. Willingham, but it just goes foul. Well, the second time they at bat that Delgado hit it solidly down the left field line, and that one just missed.
Well, we've seen some shaky play in the outfield here with this Marlin team, and the defense is not a bright spot of this ball club. And that's a fly ball, and that's got to be caught. And the pitcher's out of the inning. And you've had the center fielder for them that started the first 3 games here, Amezaga, playing so shallow, and some line drives getting over his head for triples. They haven't got a whole lot of defense and speed in that outfield. In this kind of ballpark here, that spells trouble.
Willingham is a catcher playing left field. Amezaga was an infielder playing center, so Delgado takes inside.
I mean,
you're talking about this ballpark as you look at the direction of Carlos's hits, majority to right field. It certainly is a case in point that when the Mets scored 17 runs in that game yesterday, it was the first time any team had ever scored that many runs in a game in this stadium. And Delgado goes down on strikes. Olson with back-to-back strikeouts of Beltran and Delgado. So the young left-hander, impressive. No score as we go to the second. What's that duck doing here? He's not supposed to come till the fourth.
I don't like the duck this year.
I think the duck has an early flight to get out for the All-Star break. Well, here's the Aflac trivia question. With a win today, Glavin would be the fourth Mets pitcher to be 10 games over 500 at the All-Star break. Who then are the other three?
Got to think that Dwight would be one. Mr. Seaver would be two. Who's the third? George Cone? Georgie?
Want to know to Josh Willingham. Well, I got the answer right in front of me, and you're already wrong on one.
Okay.
Believe it or not, you would have figured Seaver and Gooden were locks, right?
Yes.
Beltran got a late start, and it's over his head. And Willingham will pull into second base with a double. That ball appeared to fool Beltran at first, and by the time he turned on the Jets, he couldn't run it down.
Well, he usually runs balls like this down, is correct. Now, just got over his head.
The first baseman, number 17.
Where you see that. Beltran does play a deep center field.
So Willingham with the double, first hit off Glavin.
And the Geico Met defense. Delgado back on the lineup today. Valentin at second. Woodward again at short with Reyes with the stitches in his pinky. Wright at third. Floyd, Beltran, Nady, the regulars in the outfield. Leduco back behind the plate today, excuse me.
Here's Mike Jacobs looking to bunt against the left-hander. Jacobs has hit very little against lefties this year, hitting just 161, and so in a spot here with a runner at second and nobody out. Whether he did it on his own or on sign, ready to bunt. See if he does it again. No. 2-0.
Now there's a nice number on an everyday player. I like that.
First baseman,
and
no less.
A left-hand hitting first baseman too.
Not a left-hand throwing first baseman.
No, you
not a particularly gifted defensive first baseman.
You can't have everything.
2-0 to Jacobs. Pulled down to first, and Delgado's got it. And back to the bag, Willingham. And Jacobs taking the cut against the lefty, and he pulled it right at Delgado.
Well, a little bit of bad luck right here. Good base running by Josh Willingham, not getting doubled up. There you see, good read, nice, good presence. Cardos with that great smile of his.
So one away, here's Cody Ross playing right field today, and he takes a letter high strike. Ross has been well traveled this year. He was in spring training with the Dodgers. They traded him to the Reds, and then in May he was traded to the Marlins. Hasn't hit much since joining Florida, just .216 in 26 games. 0-2 to Ross. He was a terrific March hitter. Saw him hit several home runs with the Dodgers during spring training this year. Big tough kid. Dad played football at the University of New Mexico and rode steers in the rodeo.
He was a Lobo. He went to Mexico.
On the inside corner, strike three call. Second strikeout for Glavin. And they've both been on the inside corner against the right-hander.
You're right. Very perceptive of you, Gary. That quick night's sleep did not hurt your perception. Wonderful.
Well, you know, he was getting that early in the season, but recently it's been tough for him to get that inside strike.
Or he's just missing one way or the other, but it's a weapon he has, and as you said, you were quite right. First two strikeouts of the game for him.
And Reggie Abercrombie punches a base hit to right. Here comes Willingham trying to score. Here comes Nady's throw. Leduca with a tag, and he got him. Great pickup by Leduca on the two-hop throw by Nady, and Willingham out at the plate to end the inning. You can't do it much better. The Mets' 23rd outfield assist of the year, and that leads the majors. Xavier Nady with the throw from right field. The Mets have been doing plenty of this
Well, nice play. Long hop, 2-hop to LaDuca, and he's out. And that's the case right there. That ball's to the left or right. He's safe. It's right on the money. And this is something the Met outfield has done all year. They're, like you said, Gary, in between innings, they're accurate with their throwing. They hit the cutoff men. That's beautiful baseball.
Willingham not only out, but it cost him a pair of pants, too. And really, it's up and down the line with the outfield. Andy Chavez leads the team with outfield assists, but Beltran and Nady and Floyd, they've all been throwing people out, and throwing Millage as well. Here's Andy. David Wright leads off.
Well, he likes playing the Marlins so far this year.
And Olson behind him, 2-0. Well, he has certainly enjoyed hitting against lefties this year, batting .382 against lefties. That's the 5th best mark in the league. And Olson now behind him, 3-0.
And that's not a surprise with David Wright. Young David, I'm just going to stop calling him Young David. He's a veteran now. He's always worn out left-handers since the first day he put a Met uniform on.
There's a strike. Well, he's still young.
I understand, but in terms of he's young in his age, but as far as his experience, his service time in the big leagues.
It's a shortstop, and Hanley Ramirez makes the play one away. Well, you know, Bill Chadwick called Ron Greshner young until he was 40 years old.
The left fielder,
Here's Cliff Floyd. As you take a look at the Mets All-Stars, the All-Star half dozen.
Which is pretty amazing, and that's usually when you have that many players on your team going to an All-Star game. It's because they've got a double-digit lead in first place.
It's all on merit.
That's for sure.
Well, here's Floyd, who hit his first homer against a left-hander this season in the second game yesterday. And this homestand's been very important for Cliff. He's getting plunked every day, but he's finally hitting lefties as he hadn't all year.
Well, he's waiting a lot better, and that's why I think he's getting hit. He always stays in. But he was pulling off the ball out in front earlier in the year for quite some time.
This was the Coors Light cold blast. His homer off Jason Vargas yesterday, and that was a bolt.
A line drive off the base of the scoreboard. And that was a Coors blast, I'll tell you.
7 home runs for Floyd. You see what he's done in this series, and he bounces this one wide of first. Jacobs will have to take it himself and gets there before Floyd. So 2 away. And now here's Nady.
And I am amazed that Nady, who has a fractured wrist, is playing. And it's got to be bothering him, but I got to figure one thing, that he's had a second opinion. His agent is Scott Boras, who's a good friend of mine. And I don't think Scott Boras would let him jeopardize his young career. He's only 25 years old. So you are entitled as a player now to get a second opinion. And he's had a very good, solid first half for the Mets.
And you know, he suffered that hairline fracture in Boston. And he was told that it was really about pain tolerance, that he couldn't make it any worse. And since he hurt the wrist, it's been on a pretty good hot streak.
Well, and a lot of times what happens, Gary, is when you have a wrist or an elbow or hand injury as a hitter, you make sure those swings count if you're in a little bit of discomfort or pain. So you concentrate more. And his problem, Nady's problem in his young career, is that he tends to pull too much. And I've seen him go a lot this first half to right field. It's something he's really worked on, because he is so quick inside.
One hopper to Jacobs, and an easy inning for Scott Olson. 3 ground ball outs, and the Mets are down in order. We go to the 3rd at Shea Stadium. Still no score. Third inning, Tom Glavin takes the mound, and Matt Trainer leads off for the Marlins. Trainer, who's been splitting the catching with Miguel Olivo, hitting a .220 on the year, but 3 for 6 in this series, and He takes ball 1 from Glavin.
He's struggled against lefties, limited action against left-handers. Only 18 at bats and 3 hits on the season.
That trainer famously married to the great beach volleyball player Misty May, Olympic gold medalist. You know, there are only a couple of guys who can say that they're big league ball players, but that their wives are more famous athletes than they are. You got Trainer, and then you've got Casey Daigle with the Diamondbacks, who's married to Jenny Finch.
About Nomar, but Nomar's having a great year, so they're on a par,
yeah,
huh?
Well, it depends on which circles you look in there. I mean, Mia Hamm is the most famous women's soccer player ever. Popped up. Can Leduc or Delgado get there? And Carlos does, making like Willie Mays. One away.
Well, here it is. I thought Willie Mays retired a few years ago. Nice play.
Let's check in with Chris Cotter. Chris?
Hey, Gary and Keith. You know, today is Military Appreciation Day at Shea Stadium, and we had representatives from all the armed services here the day before the game, and among those folks from the 361st Press Camp headquarters in Fort Totten, and Major Kevin McKelvey is one in that group, and he sang the national anthem today, and I actually asked him before the game whether he'd ever sang it in public, and he said, yeah, a couple of times in front of some fellow soldiers when serving in Iraq, but never in front of between 35 and 40,000 people as we had here today. But I tell you what, I heard him singing it, and he was fantastic belting it out in classic anthem fashion, guys.
And you are right, Chris. Major McKelvey was marvelous. In fact, we were commenting on that while he was singing.
He got my attention. I was doing my paperwork here, what little I do before a game. And he got my attention. He was just a beautiful rendition.
Olson grounds one to Valentine. And that's the second out. You know, you like people to think that you don't work hard, but we know better. You're like a duck
over an hour
paddling under the water.
Is Chris going to the All-Star game? Are they talking him into going to the All-Star game, or is he getting 4 days off?
He's the #1 sideline reporter in the league. He should be going.
He looks tired. I think he needs 4 days off.
Look tired. What? Look tired? I'm spry. I'm ready for a second half push.
It's going to take him 4 days to get his hair back in shape for Chicago.
The hair never moves. It'll be in shape whether I'm doing a game or whether I'm sitting at the pool.
Here's Hanley Ramirez with 2 out, and he pulls one over the bag and down the line. Ball boy moves the stool, and Hanley Ramirez has a 2-out double. So there's the 3rd Florida hit. Ramirez with his 19th double.
Change up away, stayed back. Nice hitting. Let go of one hand. Got full, but had good balance. See, he wasn't leaning forward. That's why he hit a good pitch.
That's only the 2nd hit in 15 at bats in this series for Ramirez, but the more you watch him, the more you think he's got a pretty good chance to be a star.
Well, they gave up a few players for him.
Gave up Josh Beckett and Mike Lowell. They were the linchpins in that trade. Although the Marlins were looking to get rid of Lowell, they had to foist him on the Red Sox so that Boston could get Beckett, and as it's turned out, Lowell has had himself an all-star season. Joe Girardi left with 2 veteran, on quotation mark, players and a whole bunch of kids. Dan Uggla at the plate, and you know, rookies have taken 59% of the Marlins plate appearances this year.
There's that Dontrell Willis that shot right there with that funky brim of his hat.
Yes, he would be one of those young veterans.
There, look at that.
Well, it's not quite straight. It's got a little.
It's warped.
It's got a little ridge in it there.
Look at it. It's got a wave. But look at
those numbers. 59% of plate appearances, 45% of innings pitched taken by rookies, and that's not even a club record for the Marlins. They when they had their first fire sale after their championship in '97, the '98 Marlins had 68% of their innings thrown by rookies. Of course, that team lost, what, 108 games. This team looks like it's going to be a lot better. 2-2 to Uggla. Struck him out with a changeup. Now Glavin has his 3rd strikeout.
Gives up the 2-out double to Ramirez, but Tommy looking sharp early on in his last start before the All-Star break. Now the most advanced traffic information is just a click away with WB11.com's CommuterCast. Get real-time traffic updates on your computer every weekday afternoon at 4. Log on to WB11.com for CommuterCast. Chris Woodward takes ball 1. Woodward starting for a 7th straight game, and this regular playing time has finally gotten his bat going. He's hit in 4 straight now to get that average up to 239. Jose Reyes sitting today, and Willie Randolph got a call this morning from Phil Garner, who will manage the National League All-Star team, asking him if Reyes is going to be available to play on Tuesday. And Willie said he couldn't give him an answer yet because Reyes really wants to play.
But he's really got 7 stitches in his pinky.
Well, he did pinch run yesterday, and he made a head-first slide into third base on what turned out to be a foul ball. And Willie said today that he was not expecting Reyes to try to steal. He was a little shocked. To third, and that's a fair ball. Cabrera has to make a good throw, and he does. But it is an out. They say that Jacobs dropped it, pulling the ball out of the glove.
But look at Cabrera's arm here. He sets himself right on the money with something on it. Let's see if he does hang on to it. Nice play. Got the short hop, planted and through, took his time. Yep, that's an out.
You know, the thing about Cabrera is that he looks so casual sometimes, picking that ball up, but he knew exactly what he needed to do to make the play, and he did. So now Glavin takes a strike. Tommy with 6 hits this year. Lifetime 187 hitter, not bad. Slaps one to short. And there are 2 away. So Olson's retired 7 in a row, all on strikeouts and ground balls. 2 out and nobody on. A tribute to Reyes. And a David Wright.
Did you ever make signs when you went to Met games?
No, I was too busy keeping a scorecard.
And you didn't participate in, what was that?
Banner Day.
Banner Day. Did you ever participate?
Couldn't. I couldn't, because they would always have between games of a doubleheader, and Valentine takes a strike. But in order to participate, you'd have to leave the first game in the 7th inning to go line up. I wasn't going to miss the end of the first game.
We hated Banner Day.
I'll bet you did.
But we knew it was the fans' day, and it was fine. But the reason why is that it took forever in between the game, and it was a long day at the ballpark. It wasn't 20 minutes after the game you go right in the second game. You had to wait for all the banners.
Well, what was great about Banner Day, and you hit on it, is it was a promotion that was really created by the fans. I mean, fans started bringing banners to the Polo Grounds and Shea Stadium spontaneously when this franchise started, and something that really had never been done before.
And you know, we did watch Banner Day. We would sit up with the TV on and change a shirt and have a sandwich in between for the second game, whatever. And we would watch, and some of those banners were very creative.
Yes, they were. Some of the creative ones didn't pass the censor at the center field gate. And Valentine takes ball 2. And there were some years there where, you know, there wasn't a whole lot to cheer about, late 70s, early 80s, and some of the banners could get downright uncomplimentary.
Are we talking late 70s? Boy, I remember those days. Coming in as a Cardinal in the late 70s, in those down years, the D. Roulets were the owners, and boy, it's nobody in the ballpark.
And Valentine rifles one, and Cabrera's got this one as well. Boy, Miguel Cabrera with a couple of terrific plays, handling that quick short hop. And he gets Valentine, and Olson's retired 8 in a row. Well, it's time for the answer to our Aflac trivia question. Tom Glavin trying to get to 10 games over 500 at the All-Star break. Who are the 3 Mets who have accomplished that?
Coney. No. Oh, Frankie.
Frank Viola won 20 games in 1990.
Sid, that's right. Sid had a great start in '86.
Sid was 12-2 at the break in '86. Gooden was 13-3 in '85, en route to his 24-4 year, and Viola was 13-3 in 1990. Miguel Cabrera takes inside 2-0.
I forgot that Cone, David, when he had that great year, '87. 87 or
87.
87. He started the season in the bullpen in April.
88, excuse me.
88. He started the season in the bullpen. And then went on to go 20-3. Is that what it was?
20-3.
Missed the whole first month. It basically was our middle reliever. What a year that was.
Well, that's one of the great trades in Mets history. I don't think anybody knew exactly what the Mets had in David Cone after they got him from Kansas City. But they figured it out pretty quickly.
Well, they knew he had good stuff. Whoever scouted him saw his raw ability, his raw stuff. You never know if a player's got guts or not. That's what you have to find out. David Cone certainly had guts.
And Cabrera takes ball 4, so Glavin issues a leadoff walk, and it's the second time in the game that Glavin's walked the leadoff hitter in an inning. Now, I wasn't around the team in 1988, but you know, I've heard stories about it. David Cone arrived with the ball club that he was basically a country kid, and that he had to learn about life in the big city because, you know, by the time I got here, David was pretty cosmopolitan.
Well, he came over here as young and single. At that time, he hadn't met his wife Lynn yet. At that point, I forget when he met Lynn, but so he did come here single, and all he talked about was George Brett. That was his idol, George. So we started calling him George. We still call him George to this day. When we ever see him, David disappears. You know that. He's got vanishing cream, cases of vanishing cream at home. I know he does because he just disappears. Doesn't return phone calls. I understand he's playing golf, and I hear he's terrible.
He and Lynn just had their first child a few months ago, and I keep hearing David's home being a daddy.
That's true. But he is so hard to get a hold of.
2-1 to Willingham.
Not that I reach out to him very often, but they're.
Well, David, if you're listening, could you call Keith, please? He's left you all sorts of messages.
Well, not really.
It's time to call him back. How about that?
Thanks, George. George.
George. Receiver was George. Might be 2. Woodward to Valentine to first. Double play, 2 men down.
Well, tailor-made here. No wasted motion here, Woodward. Look at that. Boom, quick throw. I tell you what, impressed with Valentine at second base.
He made Cabrera get down on that throw.
Just he's made that pivot. He's played it before, and as you said, Gary, earlier in the year, he told you that that's the one position he's least comfortable, but he looks very comfortable to me.
Well, he's playing there every day, and he has been for the better part of 2 months now, and certainly looking like he knows what he's doing as Jacobs goes around. Jacobs lined out to Delgado his first time up. No score. We're in the 4th. Nice pitchers duel developing between the veteran left-hander Glavin and the young left-hander Olson. Tommy bidding for win number 287. Here's the curveball, and he misses 1-1.
And that looked like a strike right there. That was his first curveball of the game.
Might have surprised James Hoy, the home plate umpire. Billy Wagner does this occasionally. Gets up in the middle of a game to get loose. Throw 10 or 12 pitches and close it down until he's ready to warm up for a save chance.
I just find it so remarkable that he is a natural right-hand thrower and had to switch over due to injury as a kid. And to throw that hard and naturally, it's just an amazing story.
Especially a guy that size. 1-2 to Jacobs. And only 2 active pitchers have won more games than Glavin. It was 1 until a few weeks ago when Roger came back, but it's been tough for Roger to win games. Had another no decision last night. Two and 2 to Jacobs. Glavin needs 1 win to tie Bert Blyleven for 24th on the all-time win list.
He's tied with Robin Roberts right now. A great Philly pitcher, Oriole pitcher.
Jacobs pops it up. Woodward retreating. Side retired. So Glavin pitching splendidly, getting defensive help as well. Still no score.
Can't smoke down there.
Get your new Mets 6-pack. The Summer Pack and Mets Cyclone Pack offer a great mix of opponents and promotions at special prices. Get your tickets at Mets.com today. Home 4th inning. Paul LaDuca has been the Mets' only base runner. He singled in the 1st inning, and since then, Scott Olson's retired 8 in a row, the last 6 of them on ground balls. Olson in a great stretch right now, just 22 years old. He gets a strike to LaDuca. Olson will be the first to tell you that he had a very bad attitude in high school, and it kept a lot of teams from drafting him. He was a first-round talent. He was drafted in the 6th round by the Marlins. He talked about scouts coming to watch him and seeing him throw his glove and yell at his teammates, and it scared a lot of teams away.
Temperamental.
And Olson is still a work in progress in that regard. He had a little dust up with one of his teammates earlier this year. Randy Messenger, one of the Marlins relief pitchers, he and Olson were out and got into a disagreement, and Messenger clocked him.
Really?
Yep. Had a shiner, left eye. Talked earlier about Joe Girardi grabbing him in the middle of the game and pulling him down the tunnel and giving him a tongue lashing. So, you know, Olson's a little cocky, a little bit of a hothead, but he's a great talent, and Girardi and the Marlins are trying their best to steer him in the right direction, and right now he seems like he's pointed that way. But LaDuca drills one to deep left. Willingham back to grab it, and that's the first out. LaDuca hit that ball well, one away.
Well, it takes all kinds, doesn't it?
Well, if you have talent, you'll find a way to
absolutely
nurture you through the rough spots. Here's Beltran, who struck out his first time up.
Little Andy Pettit look there. The way Olson gets his signs.
That's a good call. There's very little room between the glove and the bill of the cap.
CIA. I see you.
1-1 to Beltran. Andy may have that bill pulled a little bit lower over his eyes. Foul tip held. 1-2 to Beltran.
He throws strikes. He's got a lot of walks now. He's on that borderline bubble. 86 1/3 coming in. Innings pitched and 38 walks. But boy, he's fine with his control today.
And very impressive with both his fastball and his slider.
Doesn't give up a lot of hits. 71 hits and 86 1/3.
Hit to third. Cabrera's had a busy day, and he throws out Beltran 2 away. So 2 out and nobody on. Delgado coming up. Hey, New Yorkers love a good debate, and Daily News Live is the place to find one. Gather around the table for fast-paced New York sports talk. Daily News Live weekdays at 5 p.m. on Sportsnet New York. Delgado struck out his first time up. Carlos is seeing that average dip toward 250. Infield over shifted against him, and there's ball 1. And the Marlins, for whom Delgado played last year, used the drastic overshift against Delgado, and we've seen it played differently by different teams. There have been a number of times recently where, especially with a lefty on the mound, teams have played more straight up against Delgado, but not here.
I would bring that shift over considerably the other direction with RBI situations in a tight part of the ball games. We've seen Carlos a lot late in the game going to left field with an RBI chance.
Fouls went off his leg.
He has struggled against left-handers this year, hitting only .211. 71 at bats. But he's still someone that when he struggles, pitchers have to be very careful.
Golfs that one toward left field. Willingham over, can't get it. And Delgado will get to second, and he'll pull in there.
Now, you were talking earlier about the Marlins outfield defense, and particularly Willingham, just not a good outfield.
Well, it's a matter of range, and there's not a lot of speed out there. Now, Willingham was a catcher, trying to find him position. A nice effort there. But this is a big ballpark, and they play in a big ballpark in Florida, too, the big outfield there.
So the Mets have just their second hit off Olson, who had retired 10 in a row before that double. And Rick Kranitz, the pitching coach, out to talk to Olson, and I'm sure the conversation here will revolve around what to do with David Wright with first base open.
Well, I always hated when a pitching coach would go out and say, now be careful with this guy. You got so-and-so behind him, and then you wind up throwing a breaking ball and hanging it because you're trying to be too careful.
Especially with a young pitcher. Aren't you better off just putting the guy on and going after the next guy if that's the way you feel?
Go after Wright. It's the fourth inning.
Right.
He gets a base hit. It's 1-0.
Right.
Your team's been scoring runs.
But if you do want to be quote unquote careful with him, aren't you better off just putting him on with a young pitcher?
Sure.
David bounced to short his first time up.
You see David's numbers with runners in scoring position. Very impressive. 354 this year. He has been solid. The most consistent player on this ball club offensively.
71 RBIs for Wright. That's fourth in the league. Lance Berkman has 79 to lead the league. 1-1 to Wright.
I mean, David's against left-handers this year is hitting .382 in 76 at bats with 22 RBI. That's just wearing them out. But still, you make outs.
There's a good slider by Olson. It's 1-2.
Goes after a bad slider, and that must be a very tight slider, as you said earlier, Gary. For them, a lot of right-hand hitters have been chasing that hard slider down the dirt. It's got to be a tight late breaker.
Now Olson ahead on Wright, 1-2. And you got a piece of that one.
So my point is this: David Wright hitting .382 against left-handers. That's outstanding. He's still making outs over 60% of the time. So, you know, let's not give everybody too much credit here. Go get him. It's early. It's you're in the bottom of the fourth.
But you know what Girardi's thinking? He's thinking one run might beat him today, the way Glavin's pitching. 2-2 to Wright.
And Girardi would love to take 3 out of 4 before the break here in New York from the division leaders. A very positive note to go into the second half of the season for this club that's played extremely well the second half of this first half.
Delgado at second and 2 out. 2-2 to Wright. Struck him out. So Scott Olson pitching brilliantly this afternoon as his third strikeout. No score as we go to the 5th. Fifth inning in a pitcher's duel, and Cody Ross will lead off against Tom Glavin. Marlins have had the leadoff man on 3 out of 4 innings against Glavin, but Tom has been able to work around trouble without much problem. Biggest scoring threat for the Marlins came in the second. Josh Willingham was thrown out at the plate trying to score on a base hit. Cody Ross took a call third strike his first at bat. 1-1.
And there's Glavin with that inside strike. 86-mile-an-hour fastball.
Reggie Abercrombie on deck, then Matt Trainer, 6, 7, and 8 in the order here in the 5th. To right field, Nady has to come in on it, and he makes the grab. One away. Well, we were mentioning the Marlins, best record in the National League since the 22nd of May. Mets are second, and the San Diego Padres have opened up a 2-game lead out west right there. But what's interesting is there are 16 clubs in the National League, and only 3 of them are over 500 since the 22nd of May, which is unbelievable. But it gives you an idea just how much the American League dominated interleague play.
Or how mediocre the National League is. On a negative note, sorry.
Well,
I got to make that point.
I mean, if you're playing within the league, somebody's got to win and somebody's got to lose every day. But if you're playing the other league, then, well, a lot of days, everybody in the National League was losing on a daily basis. There's never been any kind of lopsided record in interleague play the way there was this year, as Glavin strikes out Abercrombie on 3 pitches. 2 away. Let's check in with Chris Cotter.
Carlos Delgado is among the walking wounded, the many walking wounded on this Mets team, and he has got that sore hand. And yesterday in Game 2, he couldn't even put his glove on because it had become so puffy and just so intensely sore, and it had the bruising on it. Today he was so much better, and I asked him why. Why did that swelling go down? And he said he uses this polymem. It's sort of like a miracle bandage that a lot of the Mets use, and it just spreads out that swelling. And he's able to go because of it. He's able to put that hand over that glove. And Mike Herbst, this is one of his favorite things. The assistant trainer for the Mets uses it on a lot of the guys. And, Steve Traxton, when he got hit by the pitch the other night, he had this huge welt right under his arm and a massive bruise. And he put this on, and the next day the bruise had spread and had really helped him out. So polymem, and an interesting sidebar on this, it was invented by a guy whose wife had bed sores, and that's the end of that story.
I am sensing an endorsement deal. Woodward with a 360 throws out Trainer, side retired.
That is way too much information.
Hi, I'm Chris Cotter for Polymem. Halfway through, no score.
I'm Matt Yaloff with his Chevrolet Baseball Day in New York update. It's the Yankees and Devil Rays and Jason Giambi with his 11th career Grand Slam. The Yankees up on Tampa Bay 5-0. Back to the guys at Shea.
All right, thanks very much, Matt. Yankees trying for their 5th straight win. 3 games behind the Red Sox, who just got a run in the first inning in Chicago against Jose Contreras, who hasn't lost a game in a year. Only seems as though Tom Glavin hasn't lost a game in a year. Remember, his revitalization came right at the All-Star break last year. It's been quite a calendar year for Mr. Glavin.
It has been a marvelous year, and it makes you wonder, as you look at the young pitcher there, there's Tom now. How long can Tom go on? There's not a whole lot of effort. He's so smooth and relaxed out there. Doesn't not a lot of effort, although there is effort. He could conceivably extend his career in the bullpen if he wanted. Who knows? I don't think he'd want to do that. There's Jose, who's got to slide feet first, please.
Little lesser bandage on that left pinky today than there was yesterday. Yesterday, he had that big orange thing on there. Just a couple of little band-aids, so it's obviously getting better.
Evidently, the stitches on that pinky are on the underside of his hand, not the outside of his hand. So that's where the bat goes. So you've got stitches, you got a bat in there, that can rip apart that wound, so you got to be careful.
Broken bat bloop, and Floyd has himself another base hit against a lefty. Piece of lumber died in the process, but Cliff will take the trade.
Well, Cliff has certainly had his share of line drives hit right at people this season. He'll take this one. Very opportune time for the Mets, and Mr. Olson better pay some attention to Cliff, because Cliff could, it's a good time for him to try to steal a base.
Second broken bat hit Cliff's had in the last 2 games. As we check out the Hyundai in-game box score, Mets have had only 3 hits against Scott Olson, who's been very sharp, but now they have the leadoff man on for the first time in the game as Xavier Nady steps in and pops one foul. Nady bounced out to first base his first trip. He's contributed with his arm in this game, gunning down a runner at home plate, keeping this game scoreless. Floyd has 5 steals this year.
Hasn't been caught.
Driven to deep left field. Willingham going back, looking up, and it's out of here. Xavier Nady with his 12th home run of the year. And the Mets break the scoreless tie. It's 2-0 New York.
So the Mets draw first blood as Olson gives up a home run for the 13th time this season.
Well, we talked about Nady being so quick inside. Tried to come in with that fastball and missed down. And boy, he is got such a quick bat. 25 years, I think, 25 years of age. I think that this kid's got a good future ahead of him. Look at that. Contact, eye on the ball. He's very strong. Good stroke.
And did you see the slide step that Olson used with Floyd at first base?
It was very quick home.
You wonder whether that had an impact.
Well, you know, it's when they started tightening Dwight Gooden's motion, they shortened him up from the stretch because they were worried about the St. Louis. You had to worry about St. Louis and all those speedsters. I was always worried that it might affect, as Woodward goes down swinging, that it might affect his stuff. Obviously it didn't. And there's the pitcher right there. Big 2-run home run here in this ball game. And you watch the catcher set up in. Now watch his glove go to the middle. Oh, he made a mistake. And it's down. Look at Nady's shoulder. Beautiful. That's great camera work right there. That is a power swing.
Here's Glavin, and he takes ball 1. Well, Olson has not made many mistakes today. He didn't get away with that one. And again, you know, Nady, ever since that fracture in his wrist, seems to have come alive.
Well, like I said, it makes you concentrate more. He's got 34 RBIs. And how many games did he miss with the appendicitis?
Altogether, he's missed about a month.
Yes, and you know, he could be on course to a 90 RBI season if he was healthy all year. I mean, you cannot. The kind of injury he had is not an injury he got playing. It was a unfortunate, I guess, well, I don't know what you call it, illness?
Yeah.
You know all about that, don't you?
Infection in an unnecessary organ.
How did it make you feel?
Very bad.
So my point is that he could be on a 90 RBI season.
Well, I think when you consider that this is Nady's first year as an everyday player and that they really didn't know exactly what they were going to get out of him, I think it's been a very successful first half for him.
I agree 100%. He plays good defense. He's not an outfielder by trade, and he's learning that position as he's going along.
Ramirez throws out Glavin, 2 down.
He's got a very strong arm, and you've got a promo to read. Go ahead.
My pleasure. Thank you very much. Be part of the celebration at Shea with Mets season tickets. Would you like to buy some? Prorated packages include postseason ticket purchase options and priority access for season tickets to the new Mets ballpark. To get your season tickets or Keith's for the rest of 2006, call 718-507-TIXX or go to Mets.com today.
Do you ever get tired of reading those promos?
We should rent out seats here.
If you ever get tired of doing that, I'll pick you up once in a while.
Would you like to?
We're a team.
Oh, you can have them. Next commuter cast, it's all yours, kid. There's some folks in the front row. Of course, it's the front row of the upper deck.
Now, those are Gary's seats, not mine.
Over the bag and down the line. Valentine couldn't have rolled it down the line any better than that.
And he's got himself a 2-out double.
Well, Valentine's hit the ball hard 3 times today. Nothing to show for it, but now he's on the board here. Right down the line, and
the ball never bounced.
Like it hit the grass and rolled like a bowling ball, didn't it?
See, those are the best seats. Those new dream seats.
Those are Chris's seats.
They've got the awning over the top to give you a little shade on a warm day. And I understand our producer Greg Pickard tells us that they even have a TV in those dream seats so they can listen to you.
Oh, there you go. Go dance, man.
Got the you know, the music in his soul, and
those are
in
comfy.
his seat.
Look at those seats.
You're on TV.
Yep.
Someone just called. It's Paul LaDuca with a runner at second and 2 out. And he takes ball 1. LaDuca's hit the ball hard twice, single to center, lined out to left. Ball going to the All-Star game for his 3rd team in 3 years. It's a little unusual. With the Dodgers 2 years ago, the Marlins last year, and now as a Met. Believe it or not, he's the 6th player to be named to the All-Star team for 3 different teams in 3 consecutive years. I would never have thought there would have been that many.
Do they have the list there of who they are?
They do.
Ones? Bobby Bonds one? No?
No. Lee Smith was one. Rich Gossage. 2 and 1. And the others from further back. Bob Johnson back in the 40s. Walker Cooper in the 40s and 50s. And Jim Wilson in the 50s. So all the others, well, let's see, Walker Cooper was a catcher. All the others were pitchers. And now LaDuca. That's especially hard. 3 teams in 3 years as a catcher. All the work you have to do to learn a new staff every year. Two and 2 to LaDuca.
Good fastball inside. Lock LaDuca up here. Look at what catcher sets. I wants it up and in. It was down and in. But man, oh man, what a nice pitch.
Well, this has been Olson most of the afternoon. Hasn't walked a batter. Gave up the 2-run homer to Nady. But he's been tough. And LaDuca chops one over the bag, and Cabrera can't handle this one. Valentine will score. LaDuca to second. It's 3-0 New York. Now Cabrera's had a great day at third base, but this is one he just didn't quite handle in his glove.
Well, it's a tough hop, the in-between hop. He gets to it. He couldn't get in front. It hit too hard. Had to use his backhand. We'll take a peek at it right now. Good slider down, got under bat. That's the in-between hop. That's a tough chance. And didn't make the play. That's all.
Piece of that is with 2 out and a runner at second, you got to make sure you knock that ball down.
Well, when you can't get in front, all you've got is your glove. And he couldn't get in front of it. Pretty tough pitch right there. The LaDuca hit too. Now, did they give him a hit on that, or is it in there?
I gotta believe it's in.
They're still contemplating over there. Who's the official scorer today? Howie Carpenter.
And they have given LaDuca credit for a double.
And that, to me, I think is the right call. You're home. Tough chance.
So here's Beltran, 3-0 New York, and he takes a strike. So the Mets, who were held to 2 hits over the first 4 innings. Cliff Floyd got it started with a broken bat single. Nady hit the 2-run homer, and now back-to-back 2-out doubles by Valentine and LaDuca. Neither one of them hit all that hard, but in a good spot. 1-1 to Beltran. Gary Cohen, Keith Hernandez, Chris Connor with you from Shea Stadium on a gorgeous afternoon. Final day before the All-Star break. And the Mets trying to get a split of the 4-game series against the Marlins with Tom Glavin on the mound, and now they've got themselves a 3-0 lead against the 22-year-old left-hander Scott Olson, who finally cracked here in the 5th inning.
That was LaDuca's 30th RBI of the season. And I'll make a comment, if Red Foley was here doing the scorekeeping, that in our day that would have been in there. I guarantee you.
And you think that would have been a bad thing?
Well, it would have. I've had many a gripe with Red. I love Red, but but it's like, gosh, there's such thing as a home book. Come on.
The only thing I would say about that play is that Cabrera's had tougher plays today, and he's made them.
Yes, he has.
Sometimes you're a victim of your own success on those calls. On the inside corner, strike 3 called. Beltran didn't think so, but Olson has his 5th strikeout. The Mets put together 4 hits, including Nady's 2-run homer, and they lead 3-zip. Well, a little dissension in the Florida Marlins camp. Here's the play. Cabrera unable to make the play for Olson.
Well, it's down the line. I see the reaction of Olson here. Errors happen. Now he's going to back up, and he's kind of hanging around. He's upset.
He said something, but I didn't see him show up, Miguel Cabrera. But after the inning was over, here's what happened. And Cabrera clearly happy at Olson.
Yes.
And this got worse.
And are we going to see more?
I'm sure we will.
And this is what it culminated here, is a near fist fight in the dugout.
Olson heading toward the tunnel, and Cabrera stuck a finger in Olson's face. That's not good.
Well, Gary, you talked earlier about his temper and his past history.
Joe Borchard batting for Olson, and he hits one deep to left center field, heading toward the wall, and that ball is off the base of the wall. Borchard around second. He'll hold up there with a pinch hit double. So Borchard batting for Olson leads off with a 2-base hit. Well, after Cabrera stuck his finger in Olson's face, Joe Girardi went over and confronted his young star.
Well, he's telling him to calm down, and that you're the veteran here, and let's not let this get any worse than it is. I'm sure there will be a meeting about this, head-to-head with Girardi and his young pitcher.
And part of it, Keith, doesn't it, has to be an awareness that if you're going to have some kind of to do with your teammate, you don't do it in the dugout in full view.
Well, as long as your guys are out there hustling, and it looks like, you know, we talked earlier, and let's tie this in, how smooth Cabrera is at third base, and doesn't look like there's a lot of effort that can be misconstrued, that he's not, I'm sure Olson felt he could have got in front of that ball and kept it in front of him. Now the ball was hit a little harder, I think, and he got his backhand on it, and Olson got upset, probably think he thought it was lack of effort.
The thing about it, though, is that we followed Olson. I didn't see any gesture that would have looked like he was showing Cabrera up. Did you?
I did not see it.
So I don't know. Something got Cabrera angry, because Cabrera immediately confronted Olson when he came into the dugout. Of course, Cabrera was pretty angry yesterday, but that had different reasons. 1-2 to Ramirez.
Well, here it is right here. And there's Wes Helms right there, got in the way and prevented something from happening there. That would have broke into a full-fledged fight right there, right in the dugout.
Well, again, it's not the first teammate who's been upset with Olson this year. We go back to what we told you earlier. He got into a fight with Randy Messenger, and Messenger clocked him. Also earlier this year, Joe Girardi grabbed him by the shirt and pulled him into the tunnel after Olson had seen his concentration waver on the mound. So he's had some incidents. 3-2 now to Ramirez.
So the tempers flare. He tried to kick him too, which is not nice.
Well, Cabrera is the best player on this team, as Ramirez rips one foul. But, and we talked about this earlier, you know, he and Willis were the guys left after the fire sale, the two stars, but they're young. Cabrera's 23 years old, and there's a big burden on him.
And Olson's 22 years of age. So, like you said, what does it boil down to? It boils down to talent. There's a lot of competitive fire.
Wright with the backhand play, checks the runner, bounces the throw, not in time. Looked like he spiked that throw a little bit, came in on 2 hops to Delgado, and against Ramirez's speed, that wasn't enough.
Now watch David tap his glove here. This is a bad habit that he has in the field. He gets it out of his glove. Now watch hit his glove again. And that's a precious split second. And in that play right there, that is the difference in an out and a safe call. See that extra motion? That David doesn't have a terrifically strong arm. He cannot have any wasted motion. That's a habit. If I was to get him in the offseason and tell him something to work on, that would be something that I would try to get him to break. And it would be a hard habit to break, because obviously it's something he's done his whole life.
It's like a timing mechanism for him.
It is, but it's okay to do it on the routine plays, but there's times you got to pull that glove out of your glove and just throw it. And that's a bad habit.
So it's an infield hit for Ramirez. 2 men aboard, tying run at the plate, and Ugla fouls the first one back. So Glavin finding trouble here in the 6th inning. Borchard hit a long double, and now the infield hit by Ramirez, and all of a sudden the Marlins in a position to fight back after the Mets put up 3 in the bottom of the 5th. Glavin would love to get a double play grounder here. Ugla's 0 for 2 today. 1-1. And there is Cabrera. It'll be interesting to see how the Marlins respond. You know, some teams, when they've got little hot blood going on in the dugout, they respond positively to that.
But, you know, before this happened here, we got 2 young players. We got a 23-year-old all-star third baseman. You got a 22-year-old pitcher with terrific stuff who's got a temper. And people grow out of their tempers. And I used to break water coolers when I was in my early 20s and throw my helmet, and you learn to contain yourself. You grow as an individual.
2-1 to Ugla. Loop to center, and that'll fall in. Borchard stops at third, and the Marlins have the bases loaded and nobody out, and Cabrera coming up. So 3 straight hits from Florida, tying runs on base.
That's a good changeup, not even a strike. Outside corner, he picked it off the ground. So tough break for Glavin, and that's why Ugla's hitting over 300 going to the All-Star game.
So Glavin in his deepest mess of the afternoon, trying to keep the shutout intact, and mostly just trying to keep the lead now, up 3-0, and Cabrera at the plate. Cabrera struck out and walked today. We'll see how he reacts after his little dust up, and he takes a strike. Cabrera had his temper rise in the first game yesterday after he got plunked by Duaner Sanchez. He got ejected from that game. Came back in the second game and went 0 for 2. And he swings over the changeup, 0-2.
Cabrera is the youngest player in Major League history. You see him fishing for the bad change. They have consecutive 30 home run seasons, and more to his credit, playing in that big ballpark down in Florida.
Borchard at third, Ramirez at second, Ugla at first, and nobody out. Mets have the infield back, and the changeup misses 1-2.
Well, Tom's got a lot of wiggle room here, being ahead in the count, 0-2, now 1-2. He just threw that changeup outside just to see if he can see if he can get a easy strikeout.
Just missed inside, 2-2.
Let's see if he backs it up, double up inside, or goes back away with the cambio.
One thing Cabrera doesn't do particularly well is run, so if he can get a ground ball here, you got a good chance for 2 as Chad Bradford starts to loosen up. Popped up. Ooh. Valentine out. Nady and Beltran both in. Beltran has it, and Borchard's going nowhere. 1 away. Beltran playing very deep, but that ball had enough air under it. He was able to get there.
He seemingly got a nice running start in, plenty of momentum to carry him home to make a strong throw. A little trouble with the exchange, but when you're down 3 runs, you're not going to take a chance here. But he's tagging up now He hasn't got a chance. You see Valentin right there. This is a good veteran ball club. Everybody communicates. It communicates well. And that was a pitch right there that Cabrera just missed. He tried to come back in with the fastball. There's Jose, who's just one of the many veterans on this team that have savvy, know how to win.
Interesting also to see Bradford up in the bullpen at this point. This is an all hands on deck day. You managed differently the day before the All-Star game. Here's Willingham, and he pops it up. Shallow right. Nady in. Valentin out, and Valentin's got it, and Borchard goes back to the bag. And Glavin is 2/3 of the way home.
Wow. This is a high change. Not that high, but it's around mid-thigh. Out in front.
So Glavin's gotten the 3 and 4 hitters, Cabrera and Willingham, after the bases were loaded. And now Jacobs, who's 0 for 2 and is hitting just 161 against lefties. This is managing and developing at the same time for Joe Girardi, because he's got a veteran right-handed bat on his bench in Wes Helms, whom he could easily go to in this spot, but he needs to figure out over the long term whether Jacobs is going to be able to play every day. And so he stays in to face Glavin.
Well, this is a definitely, like you said, Garrow, a young team. You're going to play your players. You're not going to have them looking over your shoulder. You see right there the 344.
And he's taking all the way on the first pitch.
That's a pretty smart little move there. Tom looking to see if he's going to swing at a bad changeup, low and away.
Borchard, Ramirez, and Ugla, the base runners. 3-0 New York, 6th inning. The former Met Jacobs lines one. Valentin can't make the play, and a run comes home. Now trying to score from second is Ramirez, and he's safe. And it's 3-2. Valentin couldn't pick up the short hop on the backhand. The ball didn't get too far away from him, but Ramirez aggressively scores from second.
Well, I think Valentin is back to the play, tries to pull a little trick here, fake. And guess what? The runner did not hesitate, rounding third. Now watch. Watch Ramirez. He's not hesitating. Third base coach sent him all the way. Valentin comes up and makes a fake throw at the first base to see if he can get him on a wide turn. Well, he was on his way home.
Cardi Ross with a big cut.
So the point being, if Valentin picks the ball up and says, I have no chance at first base here. The ball's out in the outfield. I have no chance for nobody. Get the ball, run it in right away, or pick up the runner at third base. If he throws directly home without that wasted fake, he throws the runner out at home plate.
1-1 to Ross. I guess he was anticipating that Jacobs was going to make a turn, because I don't think Jacobs ever did.
I still think he was trying to pull a little trick there.
Oh, yeah, I agree.
And the runner just didn't hesitate there. And that's good coaching by third base coach. Oh, there's a pop-up.
And Valentin's got it. Ross retired to end the inning. So Glavin got 2/3 of the way home after a bases loaded situation, but now it's a 1-run game. Final game before the All-Star break. Tom Glavin bidding for his 10th straight win and off to a tremendous start. Matched up against the 22-year-old lefty Scott Olson, and he was terrific early. But Xavier Nady was able to break up the double shutout with a 2-run homer. Mets took a 3-0 lead. Little dust up in the Marlins dugout as Cabrera and Olson got into it. But then the Marlins were able to rebound with a couple of runs off Tom Glavin. And we've got a 3-2 game, with the Mets coming to bat against the new Florida pitcher, rookie lefty Taylor Tankersley.
What a name. Sounds like a Southern gentleman.
Good numbers, too.
Excellent numbers. You see against left-handers, 188 batting average.
Pitched in the first game of the doubleheader yesterday. Pitched an inning, struck out a couple. And Carlos Delgado leads off and takes ball one. Delgado doubled to left past a diving Josh Willingham his last time up. Marlins have a new right fielder in the game as well. 2-0 to Delgado. David Wright on deck, and then Cliff Floyd here in the bottom of the 6th.
Well, we've seen this Marlin club. It doesn't die. It doesn't lay down and die. And I think it's taking on the personality of their manager, Joe Girardi.
Delgado pops it up. 3 infielders converging with the shift on. It's Uggla who takes charge. And he barely hung on to that ball. One away. Here's David Wright. And it's the Mets home run innings presented by Amtrak Acela Express. To enter or see if you're a contestant, log on to sny.tv/Amtrak. Wright is 0 for 2. Just 2 for 14 in this series. Gets one past the mound, and Uggla has it. And quickly, Tankersley has 2 outs in the bottom of the 6th.
The left fielder, Cliff Floyd.
So here's Floyd, who got the Mets' 3-run 5th inning started with a broken bat single. Everything's breaking for Cliff these days.
Well, he's earned it. He's had a tough luck April and early May. And when he struggled so mightily, even when he hit the ball hard, it was at someone. It was just like he had the voodoo on him.
And he's got bruises, and he had a concussion earlier in the week. He's broken 2 bats the last 2 days, but the payback is he's gotten hits both times.
And he's won 2 Academy Awards this year.
Best performance by a left fielder getting hit by a pitch. Tankersley leans him back 1-1. I think Cliff was very gratified yesterday when Juaner Sanchez drilled Miguel Cabrera, clearly in retaliation for Cliff and Carlos Delgado getting hit earlier in the game. Of course, you can understand Cabrera's reaction to that because a lot of the retaliation frustration was based on what had happened earlier in the week when Floyd had been hit repeatedly by the Pirates. I guess Cabrera didn't think that he deserved payback for that. But these things build up.
Enough's enough.
I mean, Cliff's already got the trip to Pittsburgh in September circled on his calendar, waiting for some payback there. Said I hope we have Pedro back by then.
I always felt if I ever got in a fist fight with Cliff, number 1, he'd probably beat the tar out of me. And number 2, I couldn't run away from him. He'd outrun me.
Power and speed. But he pops this one up right near the plate. Trainer staggers, and he's got it. So 1-2-3 inning for Taylor Tankersley. We go to the 7th at Shea, 3-2 New York.
Hey everybody, this is Matt Yaloff with a Chevrolet Baseball Day in New York update. Phillies and Pirates, and Aaron Rowan tying this game up with an RBI to left field. Bobby Abreu comes in from second base. It's 3-3 right now in South Philly. Back to Gary and Keith.
Phillies starting the day 12 games out. In second place, the Marlins 12.5, the Braves 13. You know, if you look at the wild card standings in the National League right now, they're a little strange because
they're ugly.
Well, there's no second place team better than 3 games over 500. That's the Dodgers. And then you have 10 teams within 6.5 games of that. So, you know, the standard may not have been set high, but could be quite a race. And you know the team that's 6.5 out? The Atlanta Braves. thing about it is that there are so few teams that are out of it as far as, you know, a division or a wild card in the National League. I mean, who's out of it? The Pirates, the Cubs. Maybe that's it. Maybe the Nationals.
Embarrassing.
Woodward has a tough play, and he can't get Abercrombie, who's got good speed. An infield hit for Reggie Abercrombie, and now the tying run is aboard. Let's go to Chris Cotter. Chris?
Hey, Gary and Keith. You know, a lot of people ask me, especially these last couple of days, you know, I see in the top level at the Rogers Center in Toronto, out at Dodger Stadium and Chase Field in Arizona, but you never go to the upper deck at Shea. Why is that? Well, the answer is because it's always full. Well, I got a little room to roam today, so I thought I would check it out. You know, on a hot day like today, you get a little bit of a breeze. It's kind of nice, and you can see forever. I mean, I'm looking out here. I see Valley Stream. I can see the Wantagh and all the way to Islip, and oh, geez, Keith, I know what you're doing during the break. You need to go to the Tractor Supply Company. Get yourself a Husqvarna or some type of a Toro, man. Maybe it's all those cats and dogs roaming your yard, but you got a little work to do this weekend.
Where's your assistant?
See, Chris missed the good old days at Shea when you could sit in the upper deck and look out beyond center field onto the horizon and see the Serval zipper sign going on and off. Do you remember the Serval zipper sign?
Elaborate.
Well, out, I guess it's where the U-Haul sign is right now, out beyond center field, and there were, it was SERVAL, and the letters would light up individually and then they would flash continuously.
It was a zipper.
And there were times, you know, late 70s here at Shea, when sometimes that was the most interesting thing to look at from that upper deck. It's where it used to be. Serval zippers. I don't know if they went out of business or they just sold the building. They got great advertising though back in those days. Just by being there. Matt Trainer fouls it back 0-2. But it's good that Chris gets a little upper deck experience. That's Miguel Olivo, by the way, batting for Trainer.
I can see him up there. He's wandering around.
Well, that's a different view.
He's looking for his assistant. Don't jump. We love you, Chris.
0-2 to Olivo with a tying run on base, and he dribbles one foul. So Olivo batting for Trainer. Olivo's had a good year with the bat for the Marlins. Has 9 home runs.
This is one of the highest upper decks in baseball. I remember when I came up to the big leagues in '74 in late August, and my first step foot in Shea Stadium, I was just awed by it's like you're in a cavern near the Grand Canyon.
It's a long way. 1-2. And it's something that's troubled the Mets over a long period of time, is that you've got a lot of seats that are very far from the action, and it's going to be one of the great things about the new ballpark is that all the seats will be a lot closer to the action.
Be more fan friendly and hitter friendly because of that.
No question.
Less foul territory, fans more on top. And as a player, from a player's perspective, going into Wrigley Field all those years when the fans were on top of you, sure, as a hitter, I loved having hardly any foul territory. There's the construction materials there, but I also loved having the fans up close and watching you in those box seats in front.
Abercrombie back. Did you ever feel claustrophobic?
No, I loved it. It was like I was on like vaudeville on the stage. Loved it.
Doing a little tap dance.
me and Uncle Milty.
You don't want to follow an animal act now.
No.
1-2 to Olivo, and it's bounced foul. Miguel Olivo last year split time between Seattle, where he didn't hit a lick, and San Diego, where he hit great, and wound up in the postseason. If you need a little shade, bring a softball glove. They're bigger. A little better brim. Olivo lifts one to right center. Nady over in the gap, and he makes the falling catch. There's a big play by Xavier Nady, one down.
Well, this is the second nice play by Nady here. And this is at a very opportune time, and right now it's the difference in the ball game in the first inning. His throw home to throw out leadoff hitter Hanley Ramirez at the plate. So he's made 2 terrific plays here in today's ball game.
And he's at a 2-run homer to boot, so Nady's had himself a big afternoon. 1 out and 1 on. Here's Joe Borchert coming up for the second time. Borchert pinch hit in the 6th and then stayed in the game in right field.
And I stand corrected that the 2nd inning he threw out Josh Willingham to end the inning.
Borchert hit a long double to left center to get the Marlins rally started in the last inning. Borchert's a switch hitter. Glavin up to 96 pitches on the afternoon. And the Mets are keeping the bullpen busy behind him. And Borchert waves at the changeup. So after giving up a first pitch double the last time, Glavin went soft.
Well, he's not gonna. He has a long memory. Pitchers have long memories. You get them one way, they're gonna try something different.
Oduka will set up outside again. And Borchert hits it the other way, but he hits it well to right center. Nady back, and it's off the wall. Abercrombie will go to third as Nady bobbles the ball, and he'll be waved home. The relay by Valentine not in time. The score is tied, and Borchert winds up on third. Well, if Nady had played that ball off the wall cleanly, it would have been runners at second and third. But when he couldn't, that enabled the Marlins to tie the game.
Well, Nady pulls up here. The ball's off the top of the wall and just kind of bobbles. A tough chance. Got too close. Off the top of the 7 there. Now Abercrombie right here gets to the bag. A little hesitant. Third base coach sends him home. Standing up. Speed kills. Now watch Borchert here. He knows that this is the tying run here. Did not hesitate. Watch him here. He's going to third, try to draw the cutoff at the from the runner at the which would be the first baseman, Beltran. Excuse me, Delgado. And if he gets thrown out at third base, fine. As you see Cliff coming in here and Glavin leaving.
Willie Randolph will make a double switch. Andy Chavez will go to left field. Chad Bradford will come on to pitch. Glavin leaves in a 3-3 game.
This copyrighted telecast is presented by authority of Sterling Mats and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of Sterling Mats.
Now, this is something new on Mets.com. You can now download the MLB.TV Mosaic, and with it you can watch up to 6 games simultaneously on one screen, including out-of-market Mets games. It's the highest quality video of live baseball you can watch on the internet. Check it out at Mets.com. Well, Tom, Glavin had a 3-0 lead, but the Marlins scratched out a couple of runs in the 6th. Now they've tied the game in the 7th, and Glavin's winning streak is in jeopardy because he's responsible for a runner at third with 1 out as Chad Bradford comes on to try and bail him out.
And Bradford has been terrific as far as bailing people out. But just terrific base running, as I was saying before we went to break, by Joe Borchert going to third base.
Infield in for Hanley Ramirez, and he takes ball 1. On that play, by the way, they scored an error on Nady, allowing the run to score and allowing Borchert to go to third.
Okay.
I was a little surprised, too.
Yes.
And Ramirez takes a strike, 1-1.
So what I was trying to say was that Borchert did not hesitate. It's a tying run coming across in the top of the 7th. So you sacrifice yourself and you hope to draw the cutoff by Delgado in a close play by home. You're thrown out, fine. You got a tie ball game. If the ball goes through, you're on third base. And now the infield's in. You're the go-ahead run. Terrific base running.
Bradford's been just amazing at stranding runners. That is the best figure in the league. And just really off the charts, stranding 28 out of 31. And that doesn't include a couple that he passed along to another reliever. So he's the guy you want in there when you need to keep a guy pinned right where he is. Ramirez has been on base 3 times in a row today with a walk, a double, and an infield hit. He's scored a run. Marlins trying to grab the lead here in the 7th. Pitch out. They thought the squeeze might be on, but Orchard was not coming. It's 2-1.
Little cat and mouse here.
Would you pitch out twice in a row? If you're Girardi, would you put the squeeze on after the pitch out?
Well, if you do it again, it's 3-1. You're putting your pitcher in a tough spot.
But then you're setting up the double play if you wind up walking him.
Hit hard, base hit, and the Marlins take the lead. Orchard comes in to score. Hanley Ramirez with his 3rd hit of the game. And the Mets were up 3-0 in this game. Now down 4-3, and that run charged to Tom Glavin.
The second
Glavin's 9-game winning streak now officially in jeopardy.
Well, really nice hitting by Ramirez there, and that's your approach with Bradford. You have to, he wants it in. The sinker, oh, he got it out over the middle. He made a rare mistake there. He's been so terrific in these situations. Wanted to get that sinker to run in on his hands and got it down the middle, made a mistake. And that's just the only approach you got to have to take that kind of pitcher the other way. A submariner if you're a right-hander.
Here's Ugla taking ball 1. So after Glavin got off to a terrific start today, nearly got himself out of a bases loaded jam in the 6th, but an infield hit cost him 2 runs. And now the 2 runs here in the 7th have put the Marlins in front.
Well, once again, this Marlin team doesn't quit.
By the way, Glavin will be going to Pittsburgh for the All-Star game, but he is officially withdrawn from the game. The runner goes, Loduca's throw goes into center field, and Ramirez will get up and go to 3rd. There's a big base right there. Now another runner at 3rd with 1 out. Stolen base for Ramirez is 26th of the year.
26, throwing from his knees, Loduca. And that's going to be an error on the advancement there on the short throw in between Hop to Valentine.
Second error of the inning for the Mets, so they'll again have to bring the infield in. 1-1 to Ugla. Anyway, Glavin's been replaced on the All-Star roster by Milwaukee's Chris Capuano because Glavin pitching today was not going to pitch Tuesday anyway. Ugla lifts one shallow center. Might be trouble with the infield playing in. Chavez gets there. Here's the runner trying to score Ramirez, and he does score. Well, that's great base running by Ramirez with Chavez catching that ball coming in off balance. He challenged him and won, and it's 5-3 Florida.
Well, Indy's got to come in and throw on the run off balance. So yes, and he kind of hesitated, did not come up throwing, and that's a surprise. He assumed that because he was shallow. Look at that. Oh, 2-3 steps before he threw. So another mistake defensively by the Mets there, and that's a big difference. So a very aggressive Marlin team running the bases this whole series. He didn't hesitate.
Well, Hanley Ramirez stole a run. Here's Miguel Cabrera with 2 out. He takes a strike. So the Marlins have scored 3 in the 7th to take a 5-3 lead. 2 errors in the inning contributing, and the aggressive base running by Ramirez stealing a run. Cabrera fouls one off his foot. 0-2.
So the Marlins are a little scrappy, hustling bunch, aren't they?
And let's remember where this all started for Florida. This started with them down 3-0 and the scuffle in the dugout with Miguel Cabrera putting his finger in the face of his starting pitcher Scott Olson. And since then they've rallied for 2 in the 6th and now 3 here in the 7th.
A little wake-up call, huh?
Well, would you tie those things together?
Yes, I would.
Oh, and 2 to Cabrera. Bounce to 3rd. And Wright throws out his counterpart Cabrera, side retired. So Tom Glavin leaves the game on the short end. Mets will try and rally for him. as we go to the bottom of the 7th.
Hi, I'm Steve Berthiaume. Coming up later on Geico Sports Night, Tom Glavin tries to become the first 12-game winner in the major leagues. And we begin our all-star coverage from Pittsburgh as the Mets and Yankees finish out the first half. Check out Geico Sports Night every night, 6, 10, and 1 a.m.
David Wright, Jose Reyes, Carlos Beltran, and Paul Lo Duca will lead the Mets to Pittsburgh and be starting at the All-Star Game. Sportsnet New York Sports Night will be in Pittsburgh, too. Don't miss SNY's Sports Night All-Star Special, focusing on the Mets and Yankees, who will be in Pittsburgh. Sports Night All-Star Special Tuesday at 6:30 p.m. Final game of the homestand for the Mets. They'll be on the road right after the All-Star break. Mets won't be back to Shea Stadium until the 21st of July. Here's the upcoming schedule. That road trip will take the Mets to Chicago and Cincinnati. Mets have a longer All-Star break than usual, 4 days instead of 3, and they'll resume at Wrigley Field on Friday afternoon. Beautiful day here at Shea Stadium, and the fans up and stretching, hoping the Mets, who at one point had a 3-0 lead in this game, can now bounce back, trailing 5-3. New battery in the game for the Marlins. Randy Messenger takes over the pitching.
Another big guy. He's got his brim of his hat like Dontrell Willis. Got that flat look. Gonna eat dinner off of it.
Nady takes ball 1. I think he irons the bill of his cap. Nady fouls it back.
Good cut by Nady.
So you got Messenger on the mound. Miguel Olivo, who pinch hits, stays in the game behind the plate. Nady's had a big day today. 2-run homer, a couple of nice plays in right field, also an error in right field. And he takes a strike, 1-2. Remember, Messenger was the guy who took a poke at Scott Olson earlier in the year.
Two pretty big guys going at it.
And Nady lifts this breaking ball foul. So let's see, you've got Messenger, you've got Cabrera. I figure by the end of the season, Olson will have tangled with every one of his teammates.
Public enemy number 1.
Well, if they keep rebounding the way they have here today after Cabrera and Olson's little dust up, they'll take that. 2-2 now to Nady. Juaner Sanchez, Pedro Feliciano up in the Mets bullpen. Used to be day before the All-Star game, you would see starting pitchers come on in relief. You don't see it much anymore, although the Astros used Roy Oswalt in relief last night. It didn't work out. He gave up a game-winning home run to Albert Pujols. And Nady strikes out on the fastball away, and Messenger strikes out the first man to face him.
Wanted it in, and on the other side of the plate, belt high. Went from corner to corner, and Nady went after it. Hard thrower, this Messenger.
So 1 out and nobody on. Here's Chris Woodward, and he takes a strike. Woodward's 0 for 2, and he takes a curveball outside, 1-1. Andy Chavez hitting 9th in the order, came out on a double switch. 1-2 to Woodward. Still 1-2 to Woodward.
Just missed. Good eye. That slider. This kid's got pretty good stuff. That just missed, and that is just a good eye, and it did miss. Nice try by Messenger.
And that's called strike 3. Didn't look like any more of a strike than the previous one, did
Well,
it?
we'll take a peek here. I thought this was a little less of a slider. It might have been low borderline. Let's see it hit the corner. Oh, yes, it got the corner.
So 2 out and nobody on. That is Gas for Free sound. Every weekday this summer, the WB11 is giving away $50 worth of gas for free. Log on to WB11.com for details on how you can win free gas and avoid traffic tie-ups by watching CommuterCast. Andy Chavez up for the first time, takes a strike. Andy had the first of many hits for the Mets in that second game last night when they scored a record 17 runs. A triple leading off the first inning.
Tell you what, I like this kid's stuff. That was a nasty curveball right there. Jeez. He's got a hard slider, a little down curve. Watch it go break down. Down and in. Very nice. Great spot. Throws hard.
On 0-2, Chavez bounces the breaking ball to second. And Uggla throws him out. So after the Marlins took the lead, Messenger has a dominant 1-2-3 inning. We go to the 8th, 5-3 Florida. Eighth inning, 5-3 Florida. Chad Bradford stays on as we check out the Toyota National League scoreboard. Washington leading San Diego in the 6th. The Phillies trying to make some headway, leading the Pirates. Phillies 12 games behind the Mets as Josh Willingham fouls off the bunt attempt. Willingham 1 out of 3 today. Arizona and Colorado just getting started. Giants and Dodgers. St. Louis at Houston, the Sunday night game. 1-1 to Willingham. See what happened in that Arizona-Colorado game yesterday. They were 1-1 going to the 9th. Arizona got 7 runs in the top of the 9th. Colorado got 6 in the bottom of the 9th.
Colorado. Denver. There's never a safe lead there.
Okay. Maybe just bad relief pitching. Past the mound. Tough play for Woodward. And he can't make it. And Willingham has an infield hit. So just as in the 7th inning, an infield hit gets it started for the Marlins.
Just can't find the handle there. Tough play.
In 2006, Hyundai, the Mets, and Sportsnet New York are teaming up to strike out cancer. For every strikeout the Mets pitching staff registers, Hyundai, the Mets, and Sportsnet New York will donate $25 to the Hope and Heroes Children's Cancer Fund. Now that'll be all for Bradford. With the left-hand hitting Mike Jacobs coming up, Willie Randolph will take the ball. And the Mets will try and keep this game within reach with 6 outs to play with. Pedro Feliciano will come on to face Mike Jacobs. Bradford out. 5-3 Florida in the 8th. Geico Sports Night, the news and information source for all New York area sports fans. Geico Sports Night covers the stories that New York sports fans care about. 6 p.m., 10 p.m., and 1 a.m. every night. Only on Sportsnet New York. Pedro Feliciano takes over the pitching for the Mets after working in both ends of the doubleheader yesterday.
He's getting lots of work before the All-Star break, isn't he?
More and more. Brought in to face the left-hand hitter Jacobs. It was Jacobs who came to bat in the 6th inning with the bases loaded and 2 out. Hit a ground ball up the middle. Valentin tried to make a short hop play. It went off his glove, trickled into center field, and 2 runs wound up scoring. 1-0 to Jacobs. The Marlins with 2 in the 6th, 3 in the 7th, aided by the Mets not being quite as sure-handed as they would have liked to have been defensively. 1-1 to Jacobs.
Jacobs doubled off of Feliciano yesterday's ball game.
Willingham not a fast man at first. 2-1 to Jacobs. Jeremy Hermida has come out on deck to bat for the pitcher, who's sitting in the 6th spot in the order. Now Hermida's a left-hand batter with Feliciano in the game. They do have a right-hand hitter on the bench in Wes Helms and a switch hitter in Alfredo Amezaga. And Jacobs chasing the breaking ball, 2-2.
A little over anxious here, looking for a fastball. Went fishing. That happens, and you got those side armors. Sometimes they make you look like that.
Logan Kensing is up in the Florida bullpen. Looks like he'll pitch the 8th inning, and they'll set it up for Joe Borowski in the 9th. And Jacobs just barely got a piece of that one.
He had a good cut. And watch LaDuca get another shot here. This is a good cut on a slider. Oh, right up on the collarbone almost. Well,
just one more bruise before the All-Star break.
He doesn't have 4 days off.
On 2-2, Jacob swings and misses the breaking ball, so Feliciano brought in to face the left-hand hitter, gets the strikeout.
And another slider, and he makes sure he gets it out and out of the strike zone down. Good pitch.
Your attention, please.
So 1 out and 1 on, and now Hermida will bat for the pitcher, Randy Messenger. Hermida started both games of the doubleheader yesterday, hitting at .288, and he takes the first pitch high. Hermida, a left-hand hitter. He's a natural right-hander. His dad taught him to hit lefty when he was 4 years old. I think he had in mind a pro career for a little Jeremy.
Well, much like Mickey Mantle's father, right? Much the same thing.
Bud Mantle taught Mickey to switch hit
at a very early age.
Two and 1 to Hermida. And you wonder, if you're a young player, are you better off, if you have a choice, learning to hit left-handed, or learning to switch hit? It's an interesting question. Tough hop for Valentine, handles it well, and they turn the 4-6-3. So Valentine able to handle that off-beat hop with no problem. And the inning is over. We go to the bottom of the 8th inning here at Shea. Mets had taken a 3-0 lead in the bottom of the 5th. The 3rd run scoring when Miguel Cabrera was unable to handle that ground ball by LaDuca. And when Olson came into the dugout, he was confronted by Miguel Cabrera. Clearly upset about Olson perhaps showing him up after he didn't make that play, and it degenerated into this. Finger in the face, a little pushing, a little shoving, a little kicking, and Joe Girardi had to soothe his superstar third baseman. But the Marlins after that scored 5 runs in the next 2 innings to take the lead. And now we come up in the bottom of the 8th inning with Jose Valentine batting against Logan Kensing. Happy birthday. Good place to spend your birthday.
I got to believe that Joe Girardi is going to handle that before these guys go to their perspective wherever they go for the 4 days. Some going to the All-Star game, some not. I'm sure there'll be a conversation, I think, more with Scott Olson, a 1-to-1, and he's already talked with Cabrera on the bench. So I think there'll be a conversation with Olson in his office, because there is a past history of his temper and how he has to control it. And maybe you don't want to show up your fielders.
1-2 to Valentine, leading off here in the bottom of the 8th. Well, does he also need to counsel them before the media comes in post game, or do players pretty much know how to handle those kinds of things?
Well, he's going to be asked. Olson's going to be asked what ticked him off, and Cabrera's going to be asked what ticked him off. And we'll see if they. You don't have to answer the press, you know. It used to be what goes on in the clubhouse, on the field, stays in the clubhouse.
But this
you're not required to answer.
But this happened in front of the television camera, so it's not as though they can pretend it didn't happen.
You don't have a gun at your head. You just could say, "Hey, we had a difference." You can say that. We squared it out of here. We're fine.
It's family. Families have squabbles.
You can do
blah,
that.
Blah blah.
You don't have to. Today they don't do it, but I'm sure they'll answer, and we'll hear their gripes in the paper tomorrow.
3-2 to Valentine. Mets need a base runner to get the tying run to the plate here in the 8th.
I mean, the Gaylord Perry was notorious for being hard on his fielders behind him when he pitched for the Giants and everywhere he's been. And if a player is blatantly dogging it, then you have every bit of right to be upset and say something.
Well, it's one thing if a Gaylord Perry or a Kevin Brown shows up as fielder, but if it's a 22-year-old rookie, it's a little different, isn't it?
Yes. I think there's a pathology here with Mr. Olson. He's young. He's 22, so you know what? It's a work in progress.
I mean, he's admitted in the past that he's had something of a bad attitude. Now he's implied that he's put that behind him, but clearly there are still some issues there to deal with. And Joe Girardi's had to deal with Olson on more than one occasion this year. On the plus side, Olson's pitched awfully well the last couple of months. 3-2 to Valentine. Ball 4. And the Mets get the lead off man on in the 8th. There's a big turn at bat for Valentine. So now LaDuca comes to the plate as the tying run and falls 2 for 3 today. It was he who hit the ground ball that Cabrera didn't handle that led to the dust-up between Cabrera and Olson. Logan Kensing pitched an inning yesterday in the first game of the doubleheader, making his 26th appearance now for the Marlins. They've gotten some good relief pitching lately. And he misses to LaDuca 1-0.
Kensing's another hard thrower here. It's a little out of character for this pitching staff. He's not a big old 6'7" giant out there.
Nah, but he's just a hard throwing Texan. San Antonio. And he misses with a breaking ball. 2-0 to LaDuca. Well, the Mets trying to build something here in the 8th, and Miguel Oliva will go out to the mound to try and settle down his young pitcher. And again, here's a situation where LaDuca is batting against a staff that he handled last year, and yet it's a whole different staff other than Dontrelle Willis. Kensing pitched in 3 games for the Marlins last year, so he barely knows him.
Got him in trouble with that 1-0 slider. What's he going to do now? 2-run lead. He's got to come with the fastball.
And LaDuca fouls it back.
And boy, a nice cut on a high fastball away. Right on it. Beautiful swing. Just missed it. Hey, trust in that heater. Put yourself behind the 8-ball throwing a 1-0 slider. Now it's 2-0 with just a tying run at the plate. Take your chances.
If you can throw it 93 on the outside corner, why not?
No comprende with these guys. You don't want to trick everybody.
2-1 to LaDuca with Valentine aboard. And he throws the slider, and it's 3-1.
Now here we go again.
And Kensing not able to get the breaking ball anywhere close. Joe Girardi doesn't look happy. Willie Wagner is going to pitch an inning no matter what. Final day before the All-Star break. And the Mets hope to get him a tie or a lead before he takes the mound. Down 5-3 in the 8th. 3-1 to LaDuca. In the air to center. Abercrombie with the glasses down, battling the sun, and he drops it. Valentine will go to third. LaDuca has to stop at first, and the tying runs are on base. Abercrombie had the glasses down, but had trouble with it right from the get-go.
This is a towering fly ball that he hit. And he's got his shades down. Got to get your glove up there a little bit. Easier said than done. Boy, he didn't even see it. Almost hit him in the head.
Well, the thing you're taught to do, right, Keith, is to use your glove to help shade.
That almost took his nose off. Now there's Valentine. It's routine. He's halfway. He's able to go to third. LaDuca could have been on second, I think. And he's not.
Tying runs on base for Beltran. As you look at that high sky, and Beltran pulls one foul. Well, I agree with you, Keith. With all the air under that ball, LaDuca's got to be on second base.
Did they give him a base hit on that?
They did.
And that's got to be an error right there. You can see, oops, well.
He didn't run, and that's a huge mistake. That's the tying run that should be in scoring position.
Now a double play. They would give a double play in a heartbeat here. Sacrifice a run for a double play, even though Beltran's difficult to double up.
It's a rare lack of hustle by LaDuca. And Beltran fouls it back 0-2. Carlos 0 for 3 in this game, and he struck out twice. Just 2 hits in his last 23 at-bats. And another slumping hitter, Carlos Delgado, on deck. And now LaDuca's going to be taken out for a pinch runner. And Jose Reyes will come on to run. So Reyes carrying the tying run. After LaDuca failed to get to second base, maybe Reyes can make up for it and get to second on his own. Reyes was used as a pinch runner in the first game yesterday. He was carrying the tying run at second base in that game. At one point tried to steal third, and with that injured pinky made a head-first slide nonetheless. Beltran lines one off the glove of Ramirez, base hit. In to score is Valentine. Reyes stops at second. It's 5-4 Florida, and Reyes, the tying run, is on second base with nobody out. Great effort by Ramirez, but he just couldn't get it in the tip of his glove.
Well, nice hitting by Beltran. Look at that stretch, just off the tip of his glove. It's a game of inches. And that's a big RBI single right there for Carlos Beltran.
So a walk and 2 hits, one of them sun-aided, and the Mets have a run home here in the bottom of the 8th. The tying and lead runs on base, and Delgado coming up. Rick Kranitz, the Marlins pitching coach, has spent some time at the mound.
Well, this all started with a leadoff walk, and that's always spells trouble.
They put on the overshift, but Uggla, the second baseman, playing on the infield dirt, not back in the outfield as they hope to turn 2. Delgado 1 for 3, an opposite field double in the 4th. Drives it to right field, right at the right fielder Borchard, and Reyes failed to tag up. Reyes should have been at third base with the tying run over there. Second base running mistake of the inning by the Mets. And Reyes remains at second with 1 out.
That is just plainly not knowing where your outfielders are at. And this is a line drive right at the right fielder. And he's halfway, and that is a base running blunder, and he should be on third. You're absolutely right, Gary.
Well, you know what he has to do now. He's got to steal third base. Gotta make up for it.
David Wright can get an RBI single.
Maybe.
If he steals third, he's got to make sure he gets it.
And doesn't hurt his finger in the process. Well, here's David Wright, who's 0 for 3 today, hasn't had the ball out of the infield. Let's have a run home here in the 8th, but they're still a run shy. And boy, what a difference it could have made in this inning. If LaDuca had gotten to second, or if Reyes had just tagged up and gotten to third. Kensing has not been able to throw that breaking ball for a strike.
That's absolutely right. And on the bench, all hitters should be very much aware of that, all Met hitters. He has had zero command of his slider. And therefore, you just sit on his dead red.
Off the fastball. It's 1-1.
I don't know why he wants to get behind and forces himself to throw a fastball. He throws hard.
Pitcher due up next, and Julio Franco out on deck to pinch hit. Joe Girardi hoping his bullpen can hang on. Kensing trying to stagger through the 8th.
David's going to be trying to poke it to right field here.
And a good fastball on the outside. 1-2. Uglove, the second baseman, shading Reyes.
Well, you've got to cover him. You cannot forget about him. That opens up holes. You see right there. Now look at the holes between third and short and second and first.
Hold foul. It's not often you have both the second baseman and the shortstop, though, keeping an eye.
I agree. It's got to be one or the other. And I think with David with 2 strikes right now, I'd be more inclined to have the shortstop behind Reyes and have the second baseman over playing his normal position. It just widens up too many holes. And David, we've seen him too many times with 2 strikes going the other way.
You see Ugla and Ramirez tightening up on Reyes. Kensing ahead 1-2 on Wright. And the slider hits a deep left field. Back goes Willingham at the wall. It's out of here! David Wright with a 3-run homer, and the Mets take the lead. Number 20 for David Wright. Well, Wright was behind in the count 1-2, and how many 2-strike hits in big spots has David Wright gotten for this ball club before the All-Star break?
He's got to take a bow.
Julio Franco takes a strike. Number 20 for Wright. And so for the first time in their history, the Mets have 3 hitters with 20 or more home runs before the All-Star break. Beltran and Delgado, and now Wright. And Keith Kensing just kept going back to that slider.
Well, he got hurt on it. And got hurt in a very big way. He's going to have a big L tacked in front of his name tomorrow in the paper. If Wagner comes in here and saves it, it's going to be Lawrence Kensing in the paper tomorrow.
Still only 1 out. That's with 4 runs home here in the bottom of the 8th as Franco takes a strike. Well, it all started with a leadoff walk to Valentine, and then LaDuca hit the fly ball that Abercrombie lost in the sun. Beltran singled off Ramirez's glove to drive in a run. Delgado lined out to right. Reyes, the pinch runner, failed to take third, but Wright made the whole thing moot with a 3-run homer.
Well, here it is. Don't throw it. Oh, hanger. Not that badly, though. Outer half. But David stays in with 2 strikes. You can't leave it out there on a platter on the outer half of the plate.
That's the first slider he threw for a strike. Every other one was out of the strike zone.
Stayed flat. Didn't get it out enough, obviously. And credit to David Wright. He's a good 2-strike hitter.
And another slider, and Franco fouls this one off. Here's what Julio's done as a pinch hitter this year. Billy Wagner getting ready to try and save it now. He was coming into the 9th inning anyway, but now allow himself a save chance. Mets were up 3-0 in this game, down 5-3, but David Wright's 3-run bomb turned it around. And that takes Tom Glavin off the hook again. That's 3 straight starts now where Glavin has been in danger of having that 9-game winning streak stopped. But it goes intact into the All-Star break.
Well, I'd be all smiles too. Another day, another point towards the National League MVP. I know we got a whole half a season to go, but man, his first half has been MVP written all over it.
You'd be smiling without all that stuff, even if you were just 23.
Yes, you're right.
So would I. 2-2 to Franco.
Of course, the Mets have never had an MVP in their history,
which is amazing.
Well, they're the amazing Mets.
Well, 1986 could have been any number of guys, but Mike Schmidt won it. 1988.
It could have been Gary Carter if he didn't get hurt that year and he missed. What did he do? Did he break his wrist or something? I forget. He was out for a long time. Still drove in 100 runs. There's Kid Carter. I think Kid would have probably been the MVP if he didn't miss a month of the season.
88. Strawberry and McReynolds split the vote, and Kirk Gibson snuck in and won it.
Yes, Darrell had the great first half, and McReynolds had the great second half.
69, it could have easily been Seaver. As Franco swings and misses, he thought not, but Olivo slaps a tag on him, and that's the second out. Well, McCovey won it at 69, right?
You got me.
Here's the strikeout.
Go look in that book of yours. I love that book. I have to get one. Stretch?
Yep, McCovey, 69. 1-0 to Nady. There used to not be quite as much insistence on the part of the MVP voters that the MVP come from a first place team.
And in those days, you only had 2 divisions. And before that, only 1 league.
I mean, Andre Dawson won it in '87 for a Cubs team that finished last.
Right. Mike Schmidt won it in, what year did Mike Schmidt win it?
He won '86, didn't he?
Yeah, that's what I thought.
He always finished second.
But they finished it very, very. We hardly even saw him in the rearview mirror.
At 21 games out. What did we do today?
Weren't we in Philadelphia around a month ago?
Nady hit a 2-run homer back in the 5th. That was the first scoring in this game. It's now 7-5 New York, and Nady strikes out to end the inning. But the Mets rally from behind in the 8th against Logan Kensing and the Marlins. David Wright with his 20th home run of the year. A 3-run shot. Fitting way to send himself off to the home run derby tomorrow. 7-5 New York.
Matt Yaloff here with a Chevrolet Baseball Day in New York update. Red Sox and White Sox, and Big Papi David Ortiz drops one in, his 87th RBI of the year. The Red Sox trying to hand Jose Contreras his first loss in almost a year. Gary?
Meanwhile, the Devil Rays have taken a 6-5 lead on the Yankees in the 7th. The Yankees had a 5-0 lead in that game. So it could be a very productive day for the Red Sox. Meanwhile, the Mets with 4 runs in the 8th, 3 of them on a David Wright home run, and now Billy Wagner trying to make it stand up in the 9th. And Reggie Abercrombie takes a strike. Wagner making his first appearance in this series and bidding for his 18th save of the year. Slider hit foul just outside third. And Wagner in front 0-2. Billy last pitched on Thursday night, picking up a save against the Pirates. And trying to finish off the last game before the All-Star break for the Mets. Abercrombie to left center. Beltran with the glasses down, fares better than Abercrombie. 1 away. So 1 out and nobody on. Here's Miguel Olivo. Well, the Mets made a couple of base running mistakes in that 8th inning, but they were able to take advantage of the Sun-aided hit by LaDuca and overcome their own mistakes with one big swing by David Wright. Here's Olivo up for the second time. And he hits one well to center field. Beltran going back near the wall. It's out of here. Miguel Olivo with a long home run, his 10th of the year. And that cuts the Mets lead to 1 run at 7-6.
Wow. Dead center.
Well, Olivo's having a terrific year with the bat for the Marlins, and he crushed that. For Wagner, the 4th home run he's given up this season. And now he's got a 1-run lead to protect. And Joe Borchard swings over the fastball.
This is way out here. You can see Carlos just pulling up. That is a bomb.
0-2 to Borchard. Borchard's been up twice in this game, and he's doubled both times and scored 2 runs. Wagner ahead of him 0-2.
Ooh, trying to go up the ladder. Swung and missed at Borchard. Swung and missed at 2 fastballs up in the strike zone away.
So Hanley Ramirez on deck. He's been on base 4 times in a row. Big batter here for Wagner. Struck him out. Borchard couldn't hold up on the slider. And now the Marlins are down to their final out of the day.
Well, Wagner's been throwing more of this slider this year more than ever. And it's a good down slider, and if you can throw that and not throw a strike, then Mike, by all means, continue.
So now here's Ramirez, 3 for 3 and a walk, 2 singles and a double, a stolen base, 2 runs scored. Good day for Ramirez. Pushes a bunt, and it'll go foul. So Ramirez trying to get aboard with the tying run. He's already used his speed on more than one occasion in this game. Scored from second on an infield single in the 6th. Stole a base and scored on a short sacrifice fly in the 7th.
Pedro Feliciano stands to be the winner in this ball game. Even his record out at 2-2 if Wagner can close it.
Ramon Castro catching this 9th inning, and Ramirez lifts one down the left field line, but foul. Ramirez, who had a home run in the first game of the doubleheader yesterday, making a bid there. But now the Marlins are down to their final strike. Ramirez's home run yesterday off John Maine was the difference in a 3-2 Florida win. So now Wagner trying to put on the finishing touches after being touched up for the home run by Olivo. Crowd of better than 39,000 rooting him on. And Ramirez stays alive. Tom Glavin went the first 6 and a third, allowed 4 runs, 3 of them earned on 9 hits, but David Wright's 3-run homer in the 8th got him off the hook.
You got to pitch to waste. That's a good one to do it with, and you throw that hard. Move him off the plate.
1-2 to Ramirez. Struck him out, and the ball game is over. Billy Wagner saves it. The Mets win it on David Wright's 3-run homer in the bottom of the 8th, and they go to the All-Star break with 53 wins.
Well, David Wright right there, another clutch late inning hit, home run, 3-run shot. That's the difference in the ball game. And as we said, more numbers piling up for an MVP season. We got a whole second half to go, but certainly the first half of the season, David's got to be the front runner.
20 home runs, 74 RBIs for David Wright. The Mets go to the break in first place for the 4th time, second biggest lead they've ever had at the break. Only in '86 did they have a larger lead at the All-Star break. And David Wright will not only be going to the All-Star game, they'll be participating in the Home Run Derby tomorrow, and he warmed up with a game-winning home run today. And with the Phillies still playing, the Mets lead right now at 12.5 games. Phillies leading, so if they win, it'll be 12 at the break. Mets win it 7-6 to gain a split of the 4-game series with the Marlins, fashion a winning homestand, and we'll come back to Shea in just a moment. New York Mets baseball on SNY is brought to you by Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% on car insurance. Visit geico.com or call 1-800-947-AUTO. By Jeep, the all-new 7-passenger Jeep Commander. It's your world. Take command. And by the New York State Smokers Quit Line. Call 1-866-NY-QUITS for free help and advice. Start your smoke-free life today. Let's check out the AOL game summary. David Wright, 3-run homer in the bottom of the 8th. Put the Mets in front. Xavier Nady got him started with a 2-run shot in the 5th. Tom Glavin taken off the hook. Another no decision, his 3rd straight, so his 9-game winning streak stays intact, and he goes to the All-Star break with an 11-2 record. Want a better high-speed internet? You belong at AOL, and 53 wins before the All-Star break, a 12-game lead at least going into the break. I don't think the Mets could have asked for a whole lot more.
Well, you've got to feel good about the first half of the season if you're the New York Mets and New York Met fans, and it's always good to win the last one on the way to the All-Star break. And you got 6 Mets going to the All-Star break, 6 Mets going, so that's a record. They've earned it. They've played great this first half.
And for the first time, the Mets have 320 home run hitters before the break, and here's how they got there.
Well, we said that Logan Kensing was struggling with his slider, and that's the one he threw that he got over, the only one. And guess what David Wright did with it? 3-run blast, and that was the difference in the game.
Took the Mets from 1 run down to 2 runs in front, enabled Billy Wagner to survive a 9th-inning home run by Miguel Olivo. So the Mets 17 games over 500 at the All-Star break, and who knows what holds for the rest of this 2006 season.
Well, we'll have to wait and see. That's why they play the games. We got a whole second half to go, and I'm more curious to see how the individual players perform in the second half. We've got a lot of offensive players on this team that have chances to break individual records on RBIs, home runs. There's some terrific offensive seasons put forth by a bunch of Mets on this ball club.
Enjoy your gardening the next 4 days.
I'm mowing the lawn tomorrow.
Good job. We'll see you Friday in Chicago. Once again, our final score, the Mets 7, the Marlins 6. Be sure to join us for our next Mets broadcast this Friday, July the 14th from Wrigley Field, when the Mets meet the Chicago Cubs at 2 p.m. Coming up next is Nissan Post-Game Live. Final game before the All-Star break, Tom Glavin matching zeros early with Scott Olson, the 22-year-old lefty. Terrific pitcher's duel before Xavier Nady got involved. A couple of good defensive plays and a 2-run homer. The Marlins had contentiousness. They wound up taking the lead, but it was David Wright's 3-run homer that was the difference, and the Mets win it 7-6. Now for Keith Hernandez, Chris Cotter, and our entire SNY crew, I'm Gary Cohen. Let's go to Matt Yaloff in our Sportsnet New York studio.
Thank you very much, Gary. Sportsnet New York's Mets coverage rolls on with Nissan Postgame Live after a quick break. Ron Darling joins me to break down this contest. Plus, you'll hear from Mets manager Willie Randolph and assorted players throughout the Mets locker room. And do not forget, Geico Sports Night at 10 o'clock here on Sportsnet New York. Ron and I will be back after this. This is Nissan Postgame Live. The Mets head to the break with a 53-36 record. That projects out, if you do the math, 96 wins or so. Matt Yaloff, Ron Darling here. Geico Sports Night comes your way at 6 p.m. Despite numerous blunders in the field and on the bases, the Mets win and head to the break with a smile. Is this a case this afternoon of perhaps the Mets playing down to the competition a little bit?
I don't think so. I think you just have to really celebrate their first half. Tommy Glavin, of course, really pitched a fine game, tired a little bit in the 7th inning. The Duca had a nice play there, throwing guys out. And I think the thing about Glavin, 11-2 in this first half, just an amazing job by, you called it in the pregame, just a rock for this organization.
Yeah, he really has been this season, no doubt. He's kind of reinvented himself a little bit of late. Here gets into a little bit of trouble, and watch this play by second inning, Ron. Yeah, that's got to lift a pitcher.
Well, great play by Nady. Great throw on the tag applied by Paul LaDuca. Not blocking the play, but made the quick tag, which got Willingham at the plate.
Yeah, and the umpire's in perfect spot because he's right in between the on-deck batter, the catcher, and I mean, if he was any closer, he'd be a stool. You know what I'm talking about? Tom Glavin here, top third after a two-out double by Hanley Ramirez. He gets Dan Uggla. He's a very, very good rookie, Dan Uggla. And then Miguel Cabrera on the shot to third. Nice little defense. 8 in a row, retired by Scott Olson. After a leadoff walk in the fourth, Glavin gets Willingham to ground into the 6-4-3. So Glavin getting it done, and Woodward starting at shortstop getting it done. And here's Olson getting David Wright swinging. So we're scoreless through 4. Into the 5th now against Reggie Abercrombie. You can't hit that.
No, that changeup just diving away, and then gets Matt Trainer with a fine play here by Woodward going into the outfield to make that play.
Yeah, side retired. So we move to the 5th, and that's when the Mets finally break through with Floyd on first. Doesn't matter where Floyd is because Xavier Nady is out. A 2-run shot, his 12th run. If he didn't get hurt and if he didn't have the appendectomy, we're looking at some serious numbers.
Yeah, we would be, but I still think he's getting healthy. He's starting to get some of his strength back that he lost because of that appendectomy, and it showed today in that home run.
Yeah, he lost some weight. He's a strong dude, and he looks like he's getting stronger. 3 batters later with Valentin on second. This is a problem. Miguel Cabrera, the ball goes off the mitt. He doesn't appear to be running full speed after it.
Well, Cabrera made a lot of fine plays for Olson. That one, though, deflected off his glove and cost them a run, and it cost them something more later as they had a little argument over that, Olson and Cabrera.
Yeah, look at this. Olson and Cabrera face to face. Olson walks away a little bit. Now, it gets worse because he's obviously upset. We don't know exactly why. We can only guess. Cabrera now right in the face, points him in the head. And then Wes Helms gets in the middle there. And, I mean, that can't be good for a dugout, Ron.
Cabrera just assumed that Olson was trying to show him up for not making that play.
All right, now top 6, bases loaded. Glavin gets 2 outs with the bases loaded, but then Mike Jacobs, the former Met, the shot to second. Jose Valentin can't come up with it, and he doesn't get it home in time. So we have ourselves a 3-2 game. Any mistakes here, or did he play this as well as possible?
Well, just to knock it down was a great play by Valentin, but he lost some valuable time with this fake to first base. And by that time, Hanley Ramirez, who runs so well for the Marlins, was able to steal a run for them.
All right, but then defense takes over with some solid play. Check out Nady. We already saw the nice throw. Check this out. Xavier Nady flat out for this ball. A diving catch again. You know, he is a solid baseball player.
Well, Miguel Olivo showed some great power the opposite way with that ball to right. But then later, a double off the right field wall by Joe Borchard that misplayed by Nady.
Yeah, it comes off the wall. Keith Hernandez said it during the game. He got real close to the wall, so it bounces off, and he couldn't quite get a handle on it. So Glavin is done. Game tied at 3, but he's still responsible for a guy on base. Chad Bradford has been great with inherited runners, but Hanley Ramirez knocks Borchard in. So the Marlins are up, and suddenly Glavin could be staring at a loss. After Ramirez steals second and moves to third, Dan Uggla to left field, and this is a nice catch, but Endy Chavez holds on to it for a while before he throws home.
Well, the key was it took him a long time to get to the ball, and he figured he was so shallow that no way Ramirez was going to take that base, but he can never take anything for granted in baseball. It cost Endy Chavez there.
All right, 8th inning, bottom 8 after Jose Valentin walked. This is a problem with the Sun, and I'll tell you, it doesn't look like to me he ever saw it. He didn't ever move the mitt to get it in front of his face like he didn't know where it was.
He got to the place where he thought the ball was going to come down. He tried to turn to the side to try to get the sun out of his eyes and couldn't. And Paul LaDuca, if he had to have this back, certainly would have busted out of the box. Didn't do it this time.
Yeah, and he should have been on second base, no doubt. You know he knows it because Paul LaDuca plays the game the right way. Not there, however. Carlos Beltran singles up the middle. So we're moving along here. It's a 1-run game, and on this play, the pinch runner, Jose Reyes, he's got to be on third, tagging up from the second.
What you do when you're on the bases, you freeze on any kind of a line drive. Jose didn't. He went halfway, not allowed to tag up.
All right, well, then it leaves it up to David Wright. And David Wright, I guess, has only one thing to do. David Wright takes care of it with 1 swing.
Well, a couple little snafus can be made up really quickly by that 3-run bomb.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, David Wright has a knack, Ron, for big hits this season. He's certainly growing into a major clutch player. 3-run home run there. The Mets go on to win at 7-6. It was 7-5. Wagner gives up a solo shot. But the story here is enough hitting, good enough pitching, and they escape some mistakes.
Yeah, they escaped some mistakes, but it was good to see the Mets starting to hit again because that's what they needed to do. Wright, of course, 20 home runs, 74 RBIs in the first half. Just an amazing first half.
And that projects out, too. All right, we don't know the exact number, 89 games. It's good. It's 35 plus. It's 120-something, maybe 130-something. He is truly an all-star.
Absolutely.
No doubt. And he talked with our Chris Cotter following this game. The two of them spoke on the field a few minutes ago.
David, another 2-strike hit. What is it with you this year in 2 strikes? It's just a matter of bearing down?
I think so. I think the later I get in the bat, the more comfortable I feel. I've been scuffling a little here lately, so it was a big hit for both myself, and the team to go into this All-Star break on a positive note.
Yeah, how big was that to win this game? Obviously, you still have a double-digit lead, win or lose, but in terms of mindset to go in with the win.
Oh, huge. I mean, we put ourselves in a position right where we want to be in the NL East, so we can't get complacent with that. We have to, use this break wisely. Guys rest up. We've had some nagging injuries, some guys, a little tired, so rest up and come out fighting, swinging, after the All-Star break.
Willie always talks about beating teams with speed on the base paths. Yet with your home run today, first time in team history, 3 guys with 20 home runs at the break. What does that say about this lineup?
We can beat you in a lot of ways. I mean, we have a potent offense. We run the bases well. We take the extra base. We're very aggressive. We put a lot of pressure on the defense, but also, we can play for that home run, and we have some guys in the middle of our lineup capable of leaving the ballpark. So, when you have that many weapons, when you have that many angles to come at a different team, it makes you a pretty potent offense.
Well, speaking about playing for that home run, you got the home run derby tomorrow. How's that stroke feeling?
Not too good as of late, so hopefully we'll work on it and hit some homers tomorrow.
All right, Dave, congratulations.
Thanks, Chris.
All right, David Wright, home run derby tomorrow. Look, this win's a nice win. Clearly, you come from behind. In the standings, it doesn't make a whole lot of difference, but you go away for 4 days. Is that a big deal to the players?
Well, I think they really need to catch their breath. The team has, like David said, some nagging injuries. Some guys can get some work on and make sure they come back fresh after the break. 4 days, unusual. Usually it's a 3-day break, so the guys are going to get 1 extra day, and I think that's good, especially since the Mets are sending so many all-stars. They'll get that extra day.
Yeah, and after they play the Cubs for 3, they have another day off that's built in, so it's kind of nice to kind of rejuvenate and get going as the second half, the unofficial second half, gets underway. Still to come on Nissan Postgame Live, Ron's going to break down today's game. Keith Hernandez joins us as well. We'll hear his analysis, and you will hear from Willie Randolph as we roll on here. Nissan Postgame Live returns after a break. Welcome back to Nissan Postgame Live. Ron Darling, Matt Yaloff here. Keith Hernandez at Shea Stadium, and David Wright does it again. Are you just impressed with this guy each and every day more and more at this young age of 23 years old?
Well, I think he's certainly probably the front runner and the MVP candidate here. If he had to vote today, David Wright would certainly be the National League most valuable player. And yes, he's 23 years old, second full season. He is just gets better and better every day. Such a good 2-strike hitter. We noted that Logan Kensing, the losing pitcher, was having difficulty with his slider. Well, he got the only one he got over. He left it there on the outer half of the plate for David Wright. And again, another big late inning game-winning hit.
Hey, Keith, tell me a little bit, because you were there and you played on some scrappy teams with the Mets. What was that scuffle like, and do you think that it really inspired the Florida Marlins to play a little better in the middle of that game?
Well, you know that the starting pitcher, Scott Olson, has a history of a bad temper, and Cabrera plays it looks like he plays a very lackadaisical third base. Now, we didn't see anything whether something was said before the inning was over. So obviously something was exchanged, because Cabrera came and challenged him right there instantly. Couldn't wait to get at him in the dugout. They were pulled apart, you saw. But, the end result was we don't know. They got 5 runs the next 2 innings. Maybe it sparked them. But the game they should have won, a game that got away from them. If you're a Marlin, you would love to come in here and take 3 out of 4 from the division leader before the All-Star break, particularly at Shea.
All right, I know Ron's not going to ask, so I'm going to ask. Give us some good infighting examples from when you played, or if you can't give examples, can it be a good thing? Can it wake people up, and can it kind of bring a clubhouse together?
Well, I think each circumstance is different than the other. It depends on who's fighting who, or
who's having it out or having a difference with whom on what team. So there's no set mold for what happens. And our team, we didn't fight that much. Amongst ourselves, we fought against the other team a lot, that's for sure. But we all got along pretty good. We had, not everybody hangs out in the team. There's 25 players, and not everybody's going to get along. And you have your cliques on your team, people you hang out with, and you have some guys that have their people. So, this is, when you have 25 different individuals on a ball club, it's just not going to go hunky-dory all season long.
Hey, Xavier Nady finally has a chance this year to play every day. How do you see his development? We saw some nice plays in the outfield. Then we saw a little bit of a bungle play coming off the wall there. What's your take on Nady so far?
Well, I think it's one of the sleeper trades that Omar Minaya made in the offseason. I really do. He's 25 years old. He is not an outfielder by trade. He played third and first in his high school and college days, particularly his All-American years at University of California at Berkeley. He's just moved to the outfield, and I think he's played terrific out there. He's got a strong arm, doesn't miss the cutoff man. That was a tough chance off the wall there. But as far as his hitting is concerned, it's his first opportunity this year to play every day. And, of course, he had appendicitis that sidelined him for around a month. He's got 34 RBIs for the season at the break right now. If he didn't go down and miss that almost a month of the season, he might be in a position to drive in 90 runs this year. So I think that he has played terrific, and he's still learning as he's going along because it's the first year he's playing every day.
All right, Keith Hernandez at Shea Stadium. Have a great All-Star break.
I will.
we bet you will. We appreciate it, Keith Hernandez. All right, now look. Now that Keith is gone, give me the infighting from the '80s. Come on.
Well, I guess the only story I can always tell is that, and Keith was involved, is after we won the World Series in '86, we could even fight at a team picture, which happened in spring training. But Keith is right. That team was very close. But you know what happens with a team like that has a lot of different personalities? Sometimes it can be combustible, and we were like that occasionally.
All right, well, and it worked out. So, hey, what are you going to do? All right, we come back on Nissan Post Game Live, and when we do, Jose Reyes, pinch runner in this game, got the little hand issue right now. We'll hear from him on the other side. All right, Ron, let's talk about Jose Reyes here. Hurts the hand, he's out, he's a pinch runner. He scores a run. You put this guy anywhere, he's going to touch home plate in this game.
75 runs scored, leads the major leagues. Just amazing to watch him play. We always talk about Wright being the MVP, but I'll tell you, Reyes at the top of that lineup makes everything else go.
Yeah, it certainly does. And when he's in, chances are he's scoring. Chances are he's talking after the game. Here he is a few minutes ago.
How big was it to get this win? If you lose the game, you still have a big lead, but from a mindset.
It was big because we finished the first half strong, and come for behind, that's good feeling for us to coming for the All-Star break and coming for the second half.
How much are you looking forward to this All-Star game, all the festivities and being there with everybody?
No, looking forward to it because this is my first one, I had to enjoy it the most possible.
How do you feel about the finger?
It's getting better, it's better than yesterday, it's still sore, but let's see how I feel for Tuesday for the game.
How much will you try and push it to play in the All-Star game, or will you just say, no, that's it, I'm not gonna?
If I can play, I play. If I had to take it that way because my injuries, that was part of the game, so I can't do nothing about it, but I really want to play there because it was my first All-Star game.
Thanks.
Thank you.
I'll tell you what, fans around baseball are going to be cheated if they don't see this guy. We see him every day, and we know what the Mets have, but people need to see this guy.
Well, they need to see him because he's probably one of the most, exciting players in baseball. And, watching him play is just, whether it's a triple, he has enough power for a home run, he scores runs, he steals bases, he does everything to make that offense go.
And he smiles constantly.
He's enjoying
What's
himself.
with that? No, that's good. It's nice.
He and Wright.
I'm being the angry New Yorker. All right, Tom Glavin, we know we're not going to see him play in the All-Star game. He is not going to play. He's going to be there, but Tom Glavin pitched today, so he's not going to go on Tuesday in Pittsburgh. Let's talk about his day a little bit here and what you saw.
Well, I thought he looked fantastic today. I thought he had all of his pitches working. I think one thing he's been doing better in the last couple of starts is getting inside on those right-handers. Really had that pitch going, and it can go in with the fastball and then come back with a changeup right on top of it. Also working getting the ball down. Here, this ground ball double play. So I don't think I saw anything that I haven't seen from Glavin earlier in the year, and I think that's a good thing.
Do you think Tom Glavin, with his style of pitching and the way he approaches things, does a guy like that at 40 years old hit a dead point in the season, or does his style prevent that?
Well, I think everyone reaches a dead point, whether it's physical or mental, but you can see the career stats there, just mind-boggling, to tell you the truth. And but you know, guys like Tom Glavin, even at this advanced age of 40 years old, knows how to come out of it a lot quicker than another guy who might have that dead arm period. But he looks great. He looks like he's throwing fantastic, and if that offense keeps rolling like it did today, then he's going to have a big, big year.
What does it require to have an ERA for your career in the 3s with today's game?
Well, it's amazing. You know, early on in his career, you know, if he had a 3.5 ERA, he might say that's too high. But right now, anything around 3.5 is amazing. And the thing I like about him is that he does everything well. You know, he gets the runners over with bunts. He fields his position well. He does get some hits occasionally. So he's just one of those guys, to tell you the truth, that does everything well and helps his team to win all the time. 19 starts. The Mets are 16-3.
And he's a pro's pro off the field as well.
Absolutely.
All right, Keith Hernandez talked about Xavier Nady a little bit earlier. Let's get your take on Nady and what's happening in right field here. Nady, you know, we talked about the appendectomy, but how do you see him coming along?
Well, I think he's come along unbelievably, and if not for the injuries and the appendectomy, he might be even further along as an outfielder. But you see that he has lengthened his arm. He no longer has that third base arm where he throws right from his ear. He's starting to lengthen it out. Beautiful throw there. He also made a beautiful play on a ball to right center, a diving play, and then he showed that he has a lot more power than a lot of people thought he did when he was in San Diego, and I think that's one of the keys.
Is it difficult to be a natural infielder, then you move to the outfield, but not just in the outfield, but in San Diego, he moved around the outfield. How difficult is it to function at the plate when you're moved around in the field?
Well, I think not only moved around in the field, but he wasn't playing every day, so he'd go long stretches where he would not get some at-bats. Now he's getting at-bats every single day, and we're seeing that when you give him the opportunity, he comes through.
All right, Professor Darling, I have to ask you about your report card.
Okay.
Or actually, the Mets report card. You're doing the grading.
All right.
First half, it's not really the first half. It's 89 games. Let's go category by category here, and how do you feel?
Well, I think that the Mets were an unbelievable first half, of course. 17 games over. If they play 500 ball the rest of the way, the rest of the National League East would have to play unbelievable. But if you look at the bullpen, absolute A. You got Darren Oliver there. I put him there because you don't always talk about him, but what a role he played. The rotation B- only because of the problems in the back half of that rotation. You look at the manager, absolute A, and I give him an A because the way he used everyone on that bench. They're all fresh, and everyone's going to have the ability to get some big hits in the second half. And the offense, even though I gave it a B, I'm really saying that it's a B because I think they can do even better.
Right.
I mean, that's how amazing I think that offense is. That 9-1 stretch on the road where their offense was clicking is where I see them. They go back and forth right now, but I think that at the end of the year they're going to be A because they can beat you so many different ways. Speed, power, defense, everywhere.
I can tell you with all certainty I have never seen A's and B's on a report card before today.
That's good.
Just, you know, I'm just saying. All right, we come back after a break on Nissan Postgame Live. You will hear from the manager, Willie Randolph, as his team heads to the All-Star break firmly secure in first place in the NL East. Our Nissan play of the game comes to us courtesy that guy, number 5, David Wright, reaching out and smacking a 3-run home run into the picnic area. His 20th of the season. The Mets go on to win it 7-6. I got to ask you, Bobby Abreu last year wins the home run derby and then does not produce with the home run the way he did before. Should Mets fans be worried that David Wright's swing will change this week in Pittsburgh?
Absolutely. He's going to win the home run derby. He'll never get another hit in the second half.
But it'll be worth it because he'll win the home run derby.
He's going to be fine. He's going to have a lot of fun with it. And I think that's the key for any of the sluggers that go there. Have fun with it. It's no big deal. The fans want to see you there, and they especially want to see David Wright.
All right, SNY's All-Star coverage from PNC Park starts tonight with Geico Sports Night at 6 o'clock. Live coverage during Daily News Live at 5 o'clock. And the upcoming schedule on Tuesday, the 11th, coverage begins at 5 o'clock, as I said. And on the 14th, that is when they get back in action against the Cubs, 1:30 p.m. So note that special time, 5 p.m. Coverage. And then there is more here on SNY. Extended sports nights, Monday at 6 and then Tuesday at 6. Full reports from Pittsburgh, from PNC. We have team coverage. I like saying team coverage. It's like, you know, the bum, 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 team coverage. How about the guys going to the All-Star game and playing in the All-Star game? Let's have a listen to what they expect this coming week.
It's me a lot because this one is my first All-Star game. You know, it's going to be exciting for me, and I try to do the best I can for help the National League team to win. So I appreciate that for the fans. You know, they're voting for me because they appreciate the way I play. So thanks for the fans.
Time you make the All-Star, no, doesn't matter how, if you're voting by the fans or picking by the manager, it's always a privilege, and I'm just very happy to be being elected by the fans and being able to start in the All-Star game. It's my second one, and you know, I'm excited.
They're all special for different reasons, and you know, you look forward to them all for different reasons. And certainly, you know, for me, I guess coming off of the first half I had last year and making some changes in my game, and now seeing that all kind of come to pass and make an All-Star team again after making some of those changes, it's gratifying. But you know, I'm going to enjoy it and enjoy watching David and Jose will be there for the first time.
All right, what did you do when you got the call that you were selected to the 85 team?
Well, to tell you the truth, I had black cord fever. I called my parents straight away. Most people don't know what black cord fever is because it's cell phones now, but you used to have a cord on the phone and you'd call your parents. But my parents were so excited I brought them along, and I think they had more fun than I did.
Well, all right, well, that's right, because you mentioned in the pregame show ice sculptures at the cocktail party.
That's right.
And shrimp. All right, Willie Randolph knows from ice sculptures and shrimp, no doubt. He's a winner. Here's Willie Randolph after today's win.
74 RBIs, most of any Met in the first half. That's pretty special. Another big home run for us, and a nice way to end the first half. Nice little rest now.
Also, nice little warm up for him for the home run derby.
Well, I'm not getting into all that. I'm not really a home run derby guy. He needs to just work on hitting the ball the other way and getting base hits. But he should have a little fun. I told him to go there and have fun, and I remember doing it one year with Giambi, and we had a great time. But you know, you don't want to get home run happy, that's for sure. It's nice when you're playing regular season, but no bad habits, no bad habits.
Well, it seemed like, you know, you had that 3-0 lead at one point. Maybe perhaps the focus waned a bit, thinking, hey, we might have this, and then, oh, we're going to have a few days off.
We just didn't, you know, Tommy let them back in the game a little bit there, and, you know, we should have made some plays defensively, and we didn't. So, no, we weren't thinking about the break. We just didn't finish the game out, and then, obviously, we were able to regroup a little bit and put a little attack together, and you know, good way to win the game. Great game for the fans to watch, but you know, we knew we had to finish up strong, and we did.
Always feels better, of course, also going into the break with a W.
Well, even if we lost today, we still feel good about ourselves. I mean, we've had a great first half. You know, the real season starts now after a little break, but yeah, it's always sweet to get that win. It makes those 3 or 4 days hopefully a little longer. So we look forward to Friday in Chicago after a nice break.
When you talk about the All-Star break, having a great first half, seeing 6 of your players' names, got to make you proud as a manager.
Well, I'm proud of my whole group. You know, All-Star games are nice, and it just means that you've had a real good first half, and it means that you're a pretty good player. So anytime you can be represented by 6 guys, that's pretty special. It means that the fans here have a lot to root for and you know, hopefully look forward to. You have 2 young kids on that squad, and David and Jose. Jose might not play, but still it's special to be able to be selected by your peers and the fans. And you know, it should be a fun time. I've been a part of 7 of them myself, and maybe 7 or more as a coach. So it's a special event, and they should be very proud.
What are your expectations for the second half of the season?
You know, we expect to just finish up strong, man. Right now, I just want to relax and you know, enjoy the break. You know, we've got a lot of work to do. We know that, but I expect us to go out there and play just as well as we did the first half. And if we do, we'll have a lot of fun in September.
What does it say about the city's love affair with Jose Reyes that he gets such an ovation for basically being put in as a pinch runner?
Well, he's an exciting player. Anytime you have speed and you make things happen, I think fans like that type of energy. So, you know, that's the way he goes, and that's what they love to see. So it's pretty much a given when he comes in the game, people are going to get excited.
And his presence really does change the whole outlook of what's going on in the game, especially for the pitcher.
It does. It does. It makes you quicken up your delivery a little bit. It keeps your defensive players on their toes, because they have to make sure they make him stop before he goes to third base or second base, whatever it is. But he's just one of those guys that changed the whole complexion of the game, and you know, we were nice enough to get him in there so he can help us win a ball game. I mean, it's one of those guys where he's not a guy you want to see coming off the bench, but you know, it's nice to have that weapon there when you need it.
Have you spoken to, you talked about not getting home run happy and that kind of, have you spoken to young guys just about staying focused and just taking this for what it is?
No, I talked to them more about just enjoying the atmosphere and taking in something that's very special. But yeah, I mean, I might have mentioned to Dave and put it in his ear just to, just have fun with it. I remember Bobby Abreu last year went to a little bit of a funk, and then one of those games, it just coincidental, I'm sure. But, even though David, to me, is not a home run hitter, I don't worry about it because he'll probably get knocked out in the first round. So that's good.
So the worst thing that happens if he wins.
Well, yeah, right. Yeah, because that means he has to tax his swing, and he'll get a little bit happy with it. But I think I'll talk to the BP guy and have him throw him all balls out of the zone so he get knocked out in the first round. Hopefully.
What are some of your plans for the All-Star break?
Just relax, man. Maybe fish a little bit, play a little golf, and just enjoy the family. Take a little breather.
I'm sorry. What's the rotation for the second half?
We haven't put that together yet. We haven't put together. Or maybe I'll, Jay, what is it, Jay? Yeah, Jay, you got it. I gave it to you earlier. Traxel, Glavin, Duque. Those are the first three guys. Okay, then we'll piece it in after we go after that, okay? Jay, I thought you gave him the information then already, Jay.
I didn't want him.
Oh, Mr. Lennon, you weren't listening, huh? That's you. Yeah, late as usual. That's you.
Will you guys made any decision yet on what you're going to do with Maine and Pelton?
No, not yet. Be first to know, Mark.
What's that?
You'll be the first to know, since you are an investigative reporter, with the glasses and everything.
Do you think you silenced a lot of your critics by the team's performance in the first half?
Well, I don't think we have to silence anyone. I mean, we feel pretty good about ourselves. We don't too much care about the critics and all that. We just got to keep playing. We haven't done anything yet, young man. We got to play a lot of baseball second half, and maybe the critics will have the last laugh. Who knows? But we're going to try to make sure they don't.
Okay. The home run is the one that got all the credit, but Woodward and Valentin turned a nice double play.
Right, the double play, and then the walk by Valentin is huge. Those types of things really get you going. I thought it was great at bat by Valentin, and I think we won a game a couple days ago with the big walk. So those are all huge, man. It's not always all the dramatics. It's the little things that help you win ball games. And in order to win, you have to have those kind of guys contributing.
And the kid lost the ball to Sun, which.
Well, hey, that's home field advantage, I guess. I mean, it's a tough Sun field. Carlos has done a good job, and in the couple years he's been here playing out there, there's been a lot of balls lost in that Sun out there. So the elements were on our side a little bit today. We'll take it. We'll take it. It's hurt us in the past, but this time around, it opened up the floodgates for us. So we won't give it back, that's for sure. Love sunny days, don't you? Huh? A few clouds in there. Yes, it does. That's right. That's right. A lot of good energy.
Okay, thanks, Willie. Thanks a lot, Willie.
All right, guys, take it easy.
A playful Willie Randolph poking fun and having a little fun with Jay Horowitz, the head of media relations. He says, not Jay, but Willie, the season starts after the break. True?
It's absolutely true, and I think Willie was just happy to have 4 days away from the media, I'm sure. But yeah, it's absolutely true. They've played some great games. They've got themselves in a great position. But really what you do in the second half is you turn it on. You don't continue to play the way you're playing. You turn it on, turn it up a notch, and that's what the Mets are going to try to do.
Well, if Tom Glavin has a second half like the first half, pretty good. I think the Mets will take it. 11 wins for Glavin in the first half. No decision today. Here's Glavin after today's game.
This break, you're not going to be pitching at the All-Star game, but how much do you want to get this break just to kind of get away from baseball for a little while?
A lot, I mean, it's the kind of thing that you know it's on the schedule and you look forward to it, and that that's what it is. It's a kind of a break to get away from the game mentally, and even though me personally, I feel good physically and I feel good about the way I've been pitching, it's still nice to have that little getaway and kind of recharge your batteries.
Will you raise a glass to David Wright? He's had an unbelievable first half, hasn't he?
No, I'm going to stay on and make sure he has the same second half. I mean, he's had a great first half of the year and done everything you could have imagined for any player, let alone a 23-year-old or whatever he is. So, you just want to try and obviously have him keep it going and get everybody else kind of back on track a little bit. But he's come up big for us.
From a team perspective, even if you lose this game today, you still have a double-digit lead heading into the break. But from a mindset, how important was it to get a win and go into the break with a good feeling?
It's important. You don't want to go into the break losing a series. You don't want to go into the break losing any any ground or anything like that. So, it was certainly an important win from that standpoint. And these guys certainly have been playing well. And Pittsburgh came in here playing well, and they battled us. But you know, we did a good job of staying in the games, finding ways to win, and you know, for us with as many guys as we have banged up right now, you know, every game we can win is a confidence booster. So this is a big one.
I think for the game, 6 innings, they got the leadoff man on base. Was that a big key in terms of you're constantly having to work with a guy on base?
Yeah, you know, I don't like doing it, but you know, it was a weird game in the sense that I didn't have great location, but I thought I had real good stuff. And you know, when that happens, it's just a matter of trying to make the one pitch you need to make to either get the double play ball or get out of an inning or whatever. And you know, I was able to do that early on, and then unfortunately, you know, in the 6th inning, you know, got the ground ball from Jacobs, but he hit it hard, and it was a tough play for Hosey. And you know, then in the 7th inning, kind of the same thing, an infield ground ball, and you know, then Borchard hit a pretty good pitch. So I mean, you certainly would like to go out there and have 1, 2, 3 innings and not have to battle, but you know, some games are just a little bit tougher than others, and you know, the good thing for me is that I felt good and at least gave us a chance to win, but I hate giving up a lead when we get it. That's the most aggravating part.
When you talk about 90, I think 98 pitches through the 6th and the 3rd, when you realize that you don't have the location, is that sort of a thing that it's not going to come back, and regardless of pitch count, maybe it's just time to hang it up?
You know, I don't know. I mean, I think that you keep trying to battle at it, and I think that for me, you know, once the 6th inning came around and the 7th inning came around, you know, it's just kind of thing where you don't really worry about it too much. You're just trying to make that one pitch or that series of pitches, and you know, up until that point in time, earlier in the game, you know, you're trying to figure something out that feels right. And you know, I felt good out of the stretch. I felt like I was making the pitches I wanted to make out of the stretch. Out of the windup, I felt like my tempo was off a little bit. So, you know, I was trying to find that a little as the game went on, and actually felt better about it. You know, I made a little adjustment and got my hands a little more active in the 5th inning and felt better about it. And then, you know, they turn around and score all the runs in the 6th and the 7th after you get to the point where you're starting to feel better again. But that's the way the game goes sometimes.
I would guess that there were a lot of people a couple of years ago who didn't think they would see Tom Glavin on the Mets team when the team is doing so well after the way things started for him.
Well, not only on the team, but also one of the aces of the team and probably the rock of this rotation. But look at the Mets now, 5-3 in this homestand. They have now won 21-run games, 17 over, built a beautiful foundation. They're going to try to finish the house in the second half.
All right, Ron, have a great All-Star break. That's going to do it for Nissan Postgame Live. For Ron, I'm Matt. Don't forget, Geico Sports Night at 6 o'clock. Highlights on the World Cup. Italy wins. Plus, more reaction from the Mets clubhouse. Stay tuned for Extreme Volleyball Pro Tour. It's already in progress. It's up next. The Mets take it 7-6. They head to the break with 53 wins. First in the East. We'll see them in Chicago on Friday. Take care.